do that to you, but let me be clear. I'm one heartbroken satellite. You see, it's been a while since I've seen you around. 40 years since you last touched my lunar ground. So a call at least would be nice. You moved on to better things. Said it was the money, but maybe it's me. You changed everything with one giant leap, and then you left me. Oh, maybe it's a conspiracy. I don't know this Houston guy, but I bet he can't shine as bright as I. Oh, there's so much of me we yet to learn. And worst of all, you left your little prints on me. Stuck a pretty thorn in my side. Oh, is that all you need? You've been gone so long, but the memory still hurts. Oh, you moved on to better things. Said it was the money, but maybe it's me. You changed everything with one giant leap, and then you left me. Oh, maybe it's a conspiracy. Oh, what can I do until you return? Watch the asteroids burn. I just don't glow like I used to. And as I count the days, I'm drifting further and further and further and further and further and further away. Woo! You moved on to better things. Said it was the money, but maybe it's me. Oh, you changed everything with one giant leap, and then you left me. Yeah, oh, baby, it's a conspiracy.
Excuse me. Excuse
Show. I'm your host, Tori. I hope all of you are doing well. I hope that my voice finds you in good spirits, and that everything is exactly the way you wish. And if it's not, simply focus on what you want. Now, today, I think there are a few things that I'd like to discuss, and to do that, it's important for me to kind of clarify where we will be delving into. In order to do that, I believe that I must at least show something that is important. A message from someone that I follow all the time, that make sense to many people if they pay attention. We hear many, many times that, show me your friends, I'll tell you who you are. But that's not always applicable because, as we know, there's a lot of friends that many of us may have that are not so good. And why do we call them friends? Because we're all friends. But you are who your friends are. And the minute we change our friend circles is because they are no longer who you are or who you thought they were, right? Or who you thought you were. So it's important for all of you to understand that. As you all know, I am a person that, is extremely religious. I may not seem it because I drop a lot of F-bombs. I know this. And I struggle. I am not a saint, right? I am here with you with the same passions, the same temptations, and the same pitfalls that all of you may fall in. And this is why when I referred to the whole, thing of, people need to be a little bit more, how do I say, astute to who, what, when, where, that they pay attention to who and what they discuss and talk to. Because when someone tells you that they're holier than thou, and this goes back to, the disruption within the Christian faction, it's important to understand that no one is independent from sin. And that is where the church fractured hundreds of years ago. It was that the Catholic Church morphed into, hey, our priests are celibate because they will not engage in that sin. They are holy. And our Pope is the representative of God on earth. For me, that's blasphemy. Anyone that subscribes to that, I'm sorry if I hurt your feelings. Doesn't mean I don't love you, right? This is blasphemy. Complete blasphemy. Because we're all sinners. We all do wrong. And for those of you that are my Muslim listeners, haram is everywhere. It's not just pork and drinking. So we should all keep that in mind. Now, again, you are who your friends are. And I will let someone who's a lot more qualified, I would say, than myself to speak on that matter. As we all, how's this? Say you roll with friends that are, gangbangers. That's because you saw yourself as a gangbanger. That's because those are your people. And these are the people you roll with and you identify with. But then at some point, you're like, hey, I got into college. Suddenly the gangbangers are no longer your friends, right? Because you don't identify with that. So keep in mind, that doesn't mean you don't love your gangbanger friends. You pray for them, but you have to keep that in mind. So allow me to extrapolate that comment.
Worldly people, even when you know you won't sin. How do you know that? What guarantees do you have that you're not going to sin if you hang around with worldly people? There is no guarantee, my dear son, my dear daughter. Let me tell you this. If the weather outside is cold, can you change it? If the weather outside like today is hot or hot, can you change it? No. You put yourself in an environment, you will be affected by that environment whether you like it or not, no matter how smart, how wise, and how strong you are. You mix with the negative vibes, it will affect you. Sooner or later it will. Maybe today you went out and you came back and said, yes, I didn't make a mistake. They drank alcohol, I drank 7-Up. They puffed whatever, I didn't smoke. But let me see you, bro. After a week, after a month, after a year, you'll be the master of all yourself. They swore, I was nice. And after 1 year, he is the teacher of foul language. He opened the classroom. No guarantees. The Holy Bible says, bad friends ruin good morals. Bad friends ruin good morals. Because practice makes perfect. The more you go, the more you're gonna end up being like them. So why do you need to hang around with worldly people? Let me define what a true friend is. Let me define who is this true friend for you, my dear friend. In a very simple approach. A true friend is the one who builds you up, not destroys you. A true friend is the one who builds you up, not destroys you. And the only way for this friend to build you up is for this friend to be the reason for you going to Jesus Christ of Nazareth. If this friend takes you to the Lord, then call him a friend. But if this friend takes you to Satan, he is not your friend. So you need to know what is the true definition of a friend. A true friend who takes you uptown, not downtown. Takes you to the church, not to the club. Takes you to the light, not to the darkness. A friend that shows you the way of the Lord Jesus, not Satan. So, please, stay away from those so-called friends, because they are not friends. They're not. Pray for them, but stay away from them.
Pray for them, but stay away from them. That's key. That's key. So we're in the middle of what I would like to call, well, we've already covered that we're in the land of confusion, right? But what we have to understand is that we are being distracted from what is important to assist our nation to overcome itself. And what's important for us to do is focus on the things that matter, that give us the change we need to proceed as a society within our borders. We cannot see that change if we are not active on that front. You know, yesterday I hopped on to Locals, and I'll try to do it a little bit more. I'm going through some, personal changes, as well as work has been insane. But I hopped on because I felt that it was necessary to share that information with people, that, we evolve as people, but we're not focusing. We are surrounding ourselves with negative energy, with hate, with mistrust. Now, I have been extremely transparent because I think this is the only way that people see it. We learn from other people's experiences. It is important we remember that. Everybody's experience assists us in growing as a person, okay? We need to grow as people, and we evolve. You are not the person you were yesterday. You are not the person you were a year ago. I guarantee all of you, if you look back and say, where was I on December 18th, 2022? You may have been in a darker place or even a lighter place. 2021, darker place or lighter place. 2020, darker place or lighter place. 2019, darker place or lighter place. You decide. The differences in the choices you made within that year of comparison are why you are where you are today. Circumstances come to us for lessons, and it's important that we take those lessons and learn from them and grow from them. And right now, what have we learned since 2020. That it could have been just a simple, targeted response to a stolen election, and it would have rectified it. Yet, that wouldn't have made people millions of dollars. That wouldn't have made people important. That would not have created confusion. One thing in my life that I learned is the more you can confuse the enemy, the more you can control them. And the more that you can tap into what they believe is important, the more you can control them. See, I published one article and I'm writing another one in regards to the dark web of deception. And I have to thank Grok for that, because it was Grok that gave me the title. And allow me to share that quickly so that you can see it on your screen. And it's quite fascinating when, looking at what people have to say in regards to this posting. Oh, but it's real. I know it's real. I've never wavered from that. But what you also need to understand is that they take the real, they change it to make it look like a conspiracy, and then they make you look crazy. So they catfish activist engagement like this. And I apologize for the ads. I can't seem to take them off yet. Google doesn't pay me revenue on these ads because I keep getting strikes that my page is not aligning with their, what is going on with contact lenses. So as you remember, when the Comet Pizza thing popped out, right? We had a ton of, conspiracies running around, but then there was the truth. And in order to obfuscate the truth, what did the federal government that has gone rogue? Because keep in mind, when I speak about the feds, right, I'm not talking about our law enforcement. Many of you might say, oh, they're all bad. They're not all bad. I'm working with many of them in regards to crimes that are happening. There are few, and they are working for you. But there are those rogue agencies. You have to remember that. It is quite important that we remember that there are good people. Do not think that everyone is bad. There are good people. There are very good people around. And they're all trying their best. I mean, today when I did my T-30, I explained how Texas, the Lone Star State, is leading the way in showcasing that. How do I say that? Well, think of it this way. Texas is a border state with the South, and it has an increased issue with invaders. Now, remember, all these invaders are not voluntarily coming. Many of them are actually forced. A lot of people tend to differ on that, but that's fact. There are a lot of them that are forced to come through those borders. Forced. And there is the minority, right, that believe indeed that there's a yellow brick road in America and it'll help them. Again, we have a lot of catfishing coming, but let's focus. This dark web of deception, let's go to the Pizzagate, which is about sexual exploitation of children, is horrific. They tainted the Pizzagate comments and the Pizzagate story by having an actor pretend to go shoot it up. In fact, there was a gentleman by the name of David Seaman that I wrote about in the article. He wrote for The Street and the Huffington Post, and obviously he was fired because he gained notoriety in debunking the Comet Pizza. That's not true. He didn't debunk it. He said that it was correct. In fact, he was also very upset that Alex Jones said Pizzagate was not real. These are facts. These are facts. He was arrested on child pornography, probably because he was investigating it. This is my assessment. He hasn't been convicted. Yet James Gordon Meek, who someone put up a fake New York Post title saying that he debunked Pizzagate, that was bullshit, right? That was complete bullshit because he didn't, right? He did not have anything to do with Pizzagate. In fact, he had to do with another conspiracy, which I still haven't gotten to the bottom of, right? Which was the Pulse nightclub shooting. How many, like 50 something people died, right? But there were no graves. So it was weird, right? And he got a prize for that too. Interesting. Well, he was caught with child pornography from way before. Way back then. Since like 2014, he's amassed a treasure trove of child pornography. So what people need to understand that, and the reason I put this is that, obviously Enjoy the Show introduces the public to the idea of an interplay between the intelligence community and journalists. But it still needs to be better understood and noticed. People need to understand that. You have to understand and recognize that the intelligence community, not sometimes. Now, I put the sometimes in the article for those that are more, oh, that's a conspiracy. Actually, all of them engage with the intelligence community, like it or not. Okay. Especially those with big titles and tiaras. And this is why it's important that we understand that. Now, in 2018, the BBC did an investigation into Facebook. Marketplace was actually running rapid with child exploitation and selling illegal arms, drugs, remember the 3D gun print things, everything. And they were like, oh, well, this is really bad. We're going to fix it. In fact, I believe that Liz Crokin had mentioned using marketplaces. I believe I'm going to attribute that to her because that's what my memory recalls at this moment. But the alarming activities that BBC investigation, again, British journalists, conducted was incredible because it revealed a very secretive way of people selling drugs and weapons. Now, all of us in the public were, taught that this is all done on the dark web, the digital Silk Road, right? And that never happens out in the open. But if you remember, I had published an article, and you can look it up on ToriSays.com in 2020, just as the lockdowns happened, where I had discovered actual child video pornography on Twitter and published it, and obviously redacted the eyes and tried to obfuscate the identity of these children. But there was actual video of children, prepubescent children, enacting in egregious, activities. And it's pretty incredible because the minute I published that, I was banned, right, from Twitter because of that. And it was showcasing exactly how it is. Now, fast forward, right, that has pretty much been cleaned up. But I wanted to point something out that, I had mentioned back in 2020 and in 2018 and in 2019 and in 2017 specifically. But we don't have that Twitter archive. But I do remember I did a show on this at some point. But aside from the fact of Pizzagate being 100% real and, all of the pedophilia being out there, they really put it in your face and don't care. And in fact, Facebook had protection things on profiles. So when I had found those Twitter profiles that were buying and selling children and showcasing pedophilic content in video, again, prepubescent children conducting fellatio on other children or adults. This is horrific, disgusting, makes you sick to your stomach, right? That someone can sexualize a child. It's disgusting. But I want you to understand that aside from it being on those platforms, it's also within our political spectrum. Now, a lot of people have seen the new, news that came out about Bob Menendez. I have done extensive shows on Bob Menendez, aside from his sexual tendencies and preferences. that I've made clear, and you can go to TorySaid.com and look it up whenever I talked about him. I also talked about the passports, and that's key, right? For me, obviously, child exploitation, gross sexual imposition on children, organ harvesting, forcing them to be participants in experiments, all horrific. That's one. The other compartmentalized topic of discussion in regards to Menendez was national security. Okay. So I wanted to make that clear. So I've talked about it, and he's coming into focus now, being in where? The Dominican Republic, which I also highlighted being one of Jeffrey Epstein's hot locations from PBI, right? From Palm Beach, he would fly to the Fondue Brothers Resort, right? At the airport at the Dominican Republic, where the Dominican Republic where they were stealing the kids from Haiti, if you remember. But I digress. So in this article, as I published, I even showcased, the FBI documentation of the symbolism, because people laugh about it, right? It's fact that these are the code words. This is how they talk. It's not like they're like, hey, I want a kid. They use codes, right? When you want to kill someone, you don't say, hey, I want to 86 this guy. You use specific codes, like blankets or wet blankets or something. Now, in this, I want to point out that Pizzagate is real, but it's being artificially amplified by the perpetrators to give the illusion that it's fake. For example, on eBay, there was this pizza box that was being posted as $30,000. But if you actually look at the sales, people are actually buying the pizza box for $19.99. Now, how does that work? And we do this in the intelligence community with information, hence why I know this is an operation. This could be a catfish to catfish predators by the feds themselves. That's number one. Number two, it could be done in order to draw attention to others and then make them look stupid. Or it could be done to say, look, I'm just selling pizza boxes. That was a typo, but they're actually selling children. So there's so much confusion in this. The one thing that we can all agree on, it's unacceptable and it shouldn't be happening. Targeting the retailers, that are putting these things out is one way, by messaging them and saying, this is weird, you got to look into it. But what I urge everyone to do, I urge you to do this, is when you see things like this, go onto your website and submit a tip to the FBI and record it. Okay? You say, hey, I found this. This looks super weird. Why is it sus to sell a pizza box, which I know you, the FBI, say pizza is, has to do with kitty diddling. You guys need to look into this. This is the key thing, because people sitting back and allowing things to happen or saying, oh man, that sucks, is one thing. But imagine when those Etsy things came out, rather than Liz Crokin and other people talking about it. And as you saw, my article was 1,000,000% right, that they'd come back and call everyone crazy about Etsy. Shut up. You've got John Legend at the top of it. Stop. It's either one of the biggest and most brilliant catfishes, or it's factual, right? One of the two. Regardless, imagine if every one of the people that commented on Twitter, that commented on Truth, that commented on Telegram, all sent links to those advertisements to the FBI anonymous tip line and said, take a look, this shit would have been done, because you would have bombarded, right, the actual FBI with bona fide complaints. And out of the 10 FBI agents, a few of them would have been like, hey, what the heck? So this is very important. Now, there are many people who be like, oh, the FBI is infiltrated. Yeah, of course. Just like everything. I mean, hasn't your own little state groups taught you anything? Look how many people are sitting in your state groups with the purpose of destroying whatever you're building. Huh. If they're doing it to average people that are just garnering, support from their local community to actually make change, what do you think they're doing to our government agencies? That's the key. You can't sit there and say, oh, let's throw the baby out with the bathwater. And, I know a lot of people are hardcore doing this. Oh, we're going to ban this, ban that. Let them do their worst. If you are doing nothing wrong, They can't touch you. They can piss you off, but they can't touch you. I mean, remember when Illinois, who has a surviving case on election fraud, was happening? It was the very own people in your state groups that tried to sabotage it by working with the other side. And here we have people that are, oh, we can't trust this. We can't trust Stone. We can't trust Flynn. They're all like this. We need to listen to this. Fuck you. Don't tell anyone who to listen to. I've told you, don't even listen to me. Okay? If you're going to sit there and you're going to pretend that you're going to know who's the good guy, who's the bad guy, then have at it. You don't. Okay? You don't. You absolutely don't. Are you in their head? No. So how do you know what they're thinking? See, I've made it clear that I cannot stand Roger Stone, but I know for a fact that he was set up. And that's because he's a dinosaur in operations, okay? He's brilliant, but he's a fucking dinosaur and doesn't listen. And, Stone does what Stone does, and this is why he's been excised. And that's a problem because I already know who set him up. I mean, well, and now another person came into picture, so I guess the people who set him up. So you have to understand that. Just because I don't like someone doesn't mean that they're doing harm. Well, they are, even though they're trying to do good because it benefits them too. So you can't marry the two. You're either doing it for good and that's your only goal. And if something comes to you, that's great, right? But that's it. There's a lot of people that take things and don't ponder, right? Like sit and think about them. This is Spyfall. These are spies against spies right now, okay? You are not going to solve it. You are not going to be a secret spy, right? You're not. You remember that character, Pew Pew, whatever his name was, Jeremy, whatever? And then he became GhostSec, and then he became this, and they've all come into your groups, and they talk shit, and they lower your energy to resonate on hate and low. I mean, I have some guys saying, what was it? Saying that I own 5 cars. The fuck I do. I have a Tesla. I mean, the car that I got on a loan, I already gave back. I'm just saying, they're causing confusion. The other person said I have like 5 homes and all this shit when we're struggling just to buy one. Right? This is the problem. We have so much bullshit flying around that everyone's too busy trying to figure out, is this a good guy? Can you not trust your gut? Like, why can't you do that? Listen, how you can tell if it's the enemy speaking. I found a great clip for this. It's a 1-minute clip. I'm going to share this with you because it's so good. So good. Allow me to do this. Hold on. Let me find it. Let me find it. Give me a second. Hold on. Give me a second. Let me find this clip because when you see this, maybe it'll help you make some sense. Because I loathe when I see people do this. I do. Because it's like, I'm sorry. Here we have agencies with the power of everything. And you're going to sit there and suss it out? Like, who the hell are you again? You're a desperate housewife. You're a wannabe coder. You're just evil. Think about it. They're having you distracted with stupid stuff that makes no change. It makes no change. I've said the only person you need to listen to is President Trump. How many times have I said, don't even listen to me? Okay? You've got to trust your gut. And that comes with unequivocal faith and, having that strong foundation, right, of knowing you. And unfortunately, a lot of us don't know ourselves. We've been bombarded with propaganda, marketing, and we get influenced. This is why they're called influence operations, okay? Influence operations. We have people that have delusions thinking that freaking stupid CCP boxes are going to help X. You think X doesn't own one, didn't parse it apart and say this is junk? These are big things. And we're talking about things that make no sense, that aren't fixing anything. Oh, well, this. Oh, well, that. It's not fixing anything. You know what's fixing things? People making phone calls, filing complaints, going, to school board meetings, going to your city council meetings, demanding answers, demanding results, demanding that these machines get removed. This is the only way you can have more control. How is figuring out if this guy, Mike hates General Mike Flynn, so he's a bad guy. So I'm going to sit here and I'm going to dig really deep and figure this shit out because that's going to help you. How? Explain to me how that's going to help you. Explain to me how that's going to help you. It doesn't. It doesn't. And while many people are tired of the shenanigans of the judicial system, I can tell you, I know I had it firsthand. Guys, I went to a court hearing where without just cause, I said, he can't make me give him shit. I don't have to give him shit. Fourth Amendment and all. Thank you. And the judge was like, well, yes, he can. I said, okay, then I'm going to burn at the stake. You can rule however the fuck you want. I'm not going to play this stupid game. And if you sit firm with judges, out of 10, 1 will be good. Every failure is a step toward success. This is what is important for us to understand. Every failure is a step towards success. Now, I want you to understand that it is a very chilling picture of what can transpire when evil forces gain a strange hold over a nation's psyche, because this is exactly what is happening. It's a tale as old as time, one that repeats itself throughout history with devastating consequences. Human nature has some really nasty, shadowy depth to it. There is a darkness that craves power, control, and domination. All evil acts are founded on those principles of power, control, and domination. It's a sinister force that wraps its tentacles around the hearts of those in positions of influence and authority. They get a taste of the money and it's game over. They'll sell their mother for $1. Sometimes you think when someone good gets remunerated by the Lord for doing the Lord's work, that they will continue humbly to do the Lord's work and continue on. And believe this, evil will come at you. I mean, I'm not some, super important person in other people's eyes or anything. But in my eyes, I, myself, is the most important person in my life, right? We should be first. And I know the trials and the tribulations that I've been put through. The harm that has come to me. I mean, imagine if I was a dodgy person, how much more harm would have come to me, right? And these are just boo-boos because the Lord takes care of everything. I have been blessed. I can't even begin to express that. Blessed, no matter how much trauma. I mean, come on, guys. Held at gunpoint, the car accidents, the explosion of the car, a dead person falling right in front of my car. Like, all of these things actually happen. They're verifiable and they happen. Just a breath away from harm's way, and no harm came that would cause impact. And every harm that has come to me has then opened up a new door. I mean, could you imagine how I felt, right? In January, just a couple of days before I was going in for a major surgery that people laugh at, but it was extremely terrifying, right? And what I went through last Christmas, donating blood and constantly bleeding, I could have died, like legit. I had my lawyer here, set up paperwork, and very important people understood the gravity of my situation that called me, but then people that called themselves friends didn't, or even sent a text. This is where you can see things. But here's where the harm came. I'm headed into surgery. I've been blessed to have the money to pay for it, right? Completely. And then my bank account is shut down. The only bank that I had on my own after so many years of marriage, completely shut down by KeyBank. No if, and, why, anything, which is owned by Roy Moore, who was also partners with Roger Stone and Manafort, but he's never been scathed and he's running for some office in West Virginia. So weird. But they cut my financials off from business, private, everything. And that was the only bank I bank with, right? The only one that I physically banked with. And that caused repercussions for my children, right? And these things happened to me. And you would say, holy crap, You're going for surgery and now you have no bank account. And then they tell you, hey, we'll give you your balance when you want. And then you're too sick to go seek out and find a bank. And all of this is happening at once. But did it harm me? No. In fact, it was better for me. And that pressure, kind of like what I talked about during my 30-minute, here's what you need to know. In nature, change happens if you're forced to make change. Sometimes you don't make change because you're comfortable, right? Or because it's business as usual, or because whatever the because is. But when something happens, like there's no oxygen, you're going to find a way to breathe in water. You know what I mean? And this is what happened. So all of this turmoil happened to me at once. The surgery, I couldn't even bend over, right? I had my daughters dressing me and trying to get me up for a week and a half. I don't think people understand how that feels, right? I'm blessed to have 2 amazing children, right? But at the same time, I was completely nuked as an individual. And this is how the social credit system will work. You will have no protections. They don't have to tell you shit, right? I'm pointing this out so you understand the gravity of this. So rather than us focus, right, on things, pay attention to those around you and those that you see on social media, like Liz Crokin. She's been under attack. And what has she done? Focus on the topic that shook her when she realized it during her term as a world-renowned journalist. Her work is exceptional, but she is also surrounded by people that mean her harm. And I say this, and I know many people, oh, that's so naive. I really don't care what you have to say. Stop focusing on who's out to attack you. Stop focusing on who's out to infiltrate you. Stop focusing on, oh, this person believes in this and this person believes in that. Focus on actionable items. And as you take a path and you're walking on a straight path of, hey, I want to fix these election machines, you may start out with 100 people, and in the end, it'll only be 10. If you stay focused and keep going, it's done. Right? That's how you have to focus in anything you do. And that's it. That is it. Now, here's the clip that I wanted to show you. Please enjoy. It's pretty fascinating. I was quite impressed with this clip.
Are hearing the enemy's voice or God's. It takes time. You need to live with the Lord. It takes time to get to know this. It's not something I teach you. No, you need to live. Before, I wouldn't even know. When I was very young, I don't know if it was the Lord or Satan, I don't know. Now, I wouldn't even have a clue. Just kidding. I pray to the Lord Jesus. We need to pray as well. It's not just only time, but we need to pray every day for the Lord to give me that protection of His. I need to be embraced by His grace, by His mercy, and by the blood which He shed on Calvary. I need to ask for His protection every single day, my beloveds. But it takes time to get to know the Lord Jesus. But the more you live with the person, the more you get to know the person. So the first time I encountered the Lord Jesus is not the same when I've been with Him for the last 30 years. It's not. I was very immature, but now I'm very mature. But it takes the Lord to tell you it's Him or not. It's got to be Him. But He teaches you on how He operates.
Thank you for watching. Support this channel for more videos. Please subscribe.
No one can tell you who to trust. If anyone tells you, I know, right? They know nothing. Anyone telling you this person is a good guy, but this isn't, that's wrong. Because they don't really know. They know from their perspective. And speaking of perspective, think about it. As all those that crave power and control and domination, as this sinister force comes to them. There are malevolent puppeteers motivated solely by their insatiable thirst for power that will stop at nothing to achieve their goals. As many of these people rise to fame and power, all their twisted ambitions, they're wanting to have things. There's people, and I've actually had this happen to me in the past, that when I want something, let's pretend I see someone, right? And I've been, for the past couple of weeks, I've been saying that when someone's like, oh, I wish I had that. Don't do that. Do not do that. Be happy with what you have. I've stopped saying I want, and I say, oh, this is it, right? Like, for example, I want, I would like, and I've been saying this for a while, a home. I feel homeless. and I know people will laugh, right? But the Lord has been fantastic to me. And not for me. I mean, I'm 45, I'm single. Well, I'm dating someone, right? I have a boyfriend, but it's just me and my geriatric 16-year-old bitchy cat, okay? And his sidekick Isabel, who her name was actually Fiona at first, then it changed. Phoebe changed it. Who's deaf and blind because she's genetically like that. She's an albino cat. So it's just me and them. I don't really need a home. In fact, apartments suit me better. But I want a home for my children, just like every other parent out there wants to have a stable foundation for their kids. I never was able to provide that. That was my flaw as a parent, because I was putting, my work ahead of, what really is important, right? And even though I'm a person of faith, I would always, push back on that faith and be like, well, this. But I would always have this innate thing because it was drilled into me from a young age. If one thing, even though my mother and I don't get along because it was just me and my dad, my mom resented the fact that I was, too nerdy, I guess, right? And weird. That I was raised by nuns and priests. Like, I'm not overstating that. You can well walk down to that church in New York and ask them. They know me by name. Well, those that were around when I was a child and are still there. I had the pleasure, months ago and in June to finally see the priest that is now a bishop who had a stroke and can't recognize people. And people said he doesn't recognize. He recognized me. He not only recognized me, he reached his arms out to me. He taught me these things, these little things. That's why it's so important at a young age to put it in there. And that's the only thing that I successfully did, was provide my kids that source of faith so much that even Carlo found God, right? My son-in-law, who was nothing. He, religion is like whatever, he is, I think, more of a, traditional, Christian than I am right now, because those are the waves. First, you get introduced and you're excited, then you're very traditional, and then you are the words, and a lot of people get stuck to the traditional, the going to church, the thumping the Bible, and then you start to be the Bible. You're not speaking the words, you are acting them, right? And so it was a really emotional thing for me to see that that's the only thing that I successfully did, while not giving them any solid foundation. If you think about it, when we raise our kids, and I know a lot of us out there that are listening to my voice right now have been in that situation where we can't give them that stable footing. It's like they're floating. They don't know if home is safe. I didn't know that it wasn't safe, but I knew that it wasn't stable because it kept changing, because my assignments kept changing, and I was pretty much absent for the majority of it. And I feel like I failed. So I have been praying and praying, hey, this is the only thing I want. I want them to feel home, because I myself feel homeless. Does that make sense? In that sense, it's not, oh, I wish I had that, right? I don't point to something and say, I wish I had it, because that's how evil grabs a hold of you. You express to the Lord, hey, I feel that I finally need that foundation, that stability. please provide it for me. Not for me, for my kids, right? Everyone does that. You have to be very specific. If we go back to where people talked about rubbing the genie and asking questions, right? And that every time someone would ask the genie a question, they would get totally fucked, okay? Completely ruddered, right? They'd be done. Why? Because they would ask for something and it would ping back on them. They'd be like, I want $1 million. And then they'd get $1 million, but their whole family's dead. Or the world is over and they're the only person on earth with $1 million. And so nobody cares, right? You have to be very specific. And here's how you become specific: by not asking for something, right? But feeling something. I want to feel stable. I want to feel that I'm providing a safe place. I want to, I feel the need for this. And if you put that and introspect that, it all comes to you. If you start pointing at things somebody else has, you don't know what happened to them to get that. Someone might see. I actually had this conversation a couple days ago with a random stranger. She turned around and said, damn, I wish I had that. And I said, well, what if her husband died for her to have that? And she's a mourning widow and she's losing her mind. Would you still want it? She was like, oh, I didn't think about it like that. And I was like, see, don't ever envy other people. Don't ever envy other people. Focus on what your heart needs or what you think you need and put it out there. And no matter where you pray to, whatever you call your God, right? Put it out there and focus on the emotion. Emotions are a lot more powerful. And this I have showcased throughout the years by showcasing experiments, like even Dr. Emoto's, the water, the intention to the water. For those of you that haven't tried that experiment, I urge you to do it. Don't take anybody else's word for it. You don't have to. You can try it, right? You can see that if you put a glass of water with the same water and the same amount of rice, if you say lovely things and you feel those lovely things while you're holding that jar, it will be completely clear. And when you're angry or you're pissed off or anything like that, and you grab the other jar and you push that hate, you'll see the change. It'll become murky and dark and black. Your emotions are so powerful because thoughts becomes things. That's why when people say, well, I don't do that, it's what you're thinking, right? That's what's important, what you are thinking. So it's really important that we focus our thoughts and our emotions on the right things. And going back to the whole, we must, ensure that we are doing things appropriately within our sphere of our community. We should say, okay, what would I like? I would like to have my voice heard at the ballot box. At the moment, that is being obfuscated, right? They're using electronic equipment that is not giving me the ability to feel secure that my voice is being heard. I feel strongly about that. I want at least my voice to be heard. If there are more voices that want to kill babies, then so be it. This is a democratic republic, a constitutional republic, whatever you want to call it. It is it. And everyone should have a voice, even the crazy ones that, think abortion is okay, right? That think tearing apart life is okay. So focus the emotion, right, on that and say, I would like to have my voice heard. This is all I want, is to be heard appropriately, to be honored and afforded the rights that others have been in the past, 150 years ago. And that was also obfuscated because, if you actually peruse the Library of Congress, you'll see that people were beating each other up during electoral races. They were killing each other and having, gunfights at dawn, drawing guns. But nobody looks at history. They just think everyone's insane now about elections. It's always been like that. The golden age of being mesmerized and being, mindless sheep going after, it was between the 70s and, the early 2000s. Suddenly everyone started to wake up in the 2000s, and this is how it's done, right? That's how it's done, by people refusing to focus on the emotion on things. And it's important to do that because this week is going to be super insane. Now, I'm going to take a quick break. And then I'm going to come back, and I have a video compilation for you to prep you for the show tomorrow. And this video compilation doesn't have much commentary. It's a bunch of videos from around the internet that showcase something that I've been talking about for a while: the missing people. You know, we hear a lot of these churches that pass around the basket telling you about, oh, you know, God's people are going to be disappearing. I want you to take a step back. And I've said this many, many times before. If we know that God is our architect, do you not think he would leave blueprints? And yet those blueprints have been put through variation cycles in all fronts, through various religions. Even the Torah has now become the Talmud. The Bible has had a million versions. The Quran was spoken, so let's forget the broken telephone, even though it's memorized, right? You know, heard it through the grapevine. Ever play that? Where you're sitting at a table and you say the word, and on the other end, it's completely, you start with the word grape, and at the end, it comes out to be wine. And you're like, okay, grape and wine are related, not the same thing though, right? So these are things that we need to absorb. So after this short break, I will be back with some really alarming footage. And then you have to ask yourself, okay, what are the tasks that we as citizens should be focusing on? Here's what my list is. Doesn't mean it's your list or anybody else's, but my priorities are: get rid of the election machines, ensure that we can close our borders to stop the facilitation of that market of human trafficking, and then figure out, where the hell are all these people going? So I'll see you guys in just a bit. Okay. I'm going to try to fix this. Is this it? Okay, it is. But give me a second. Okay, how do I do this? I can't. All right. Let me get this going, and I'll see you in a bit. All right, welcome back, everyone. Sorry, took that break, had to. And now we're going to go into and delve into the fact that, hardly anyone, and I shouldn't say anyone, but the majority of who are influencers are not talking about this. But I have to give props to Roseanne Barr and Tucker Carlson for doing so. I actually want to find that clip so that I can play it. As you guys know, I don't have a producer, right? I don't. I do this all myself, so it's on the fly. But I want to get that Roseanne Tucker Carlson interview up where they talk about the missing people and where they are. And that's important. And the reason I say it's important is because, where are they going? Why is nobody caring about that? Why? And when I say nobody, again, I speak to the specifics of, the influencers that many people allege are truthers. I don't know what that means, because we all know that truth is your perspective on things, right? And how you see things. Even quantum AI takes your perspective to give you your predictions, which is crunching a lot of data and giving you an answer. So if your actual, I would say, how do I put this out? Why is my bandwidth so low? I wonder. It says that I have exceptionally low bandwidth available to myself. Decrease in quality and loss of video. That's interesting. I don't understand why I'm constantly being throttled. This is not okay. Not okay at all. I'm trying to find the clip specifically where they're talking about the missing people, because they did. And I'm so glad they did, because it's imperative. One day I may be, able to have a coffee with that woman, or even smoke some weed. I don't smoke weed. I get high too quick. So I don't do that. But maybe one day I will. Because she, a lot of people see people through success, right? And they want to be that. Like even Tucker, think of his family background, what he's been through, what he's seen, how he's been silenced. You remember how he was going to put out Hunter Biden laptop stuff, but the FBI intercepted or something like that. Who knows what happened? Don't ever envy someone for being in the position they are, because maybe you couldn't carry that cross that they did to get there. And I know Roseanne has carried many a crosses. And it's pretty sad that, a lot of people envy that she has the ability to, talk about these things. But I'll look for the clip at some point. But for now, I'd like to share this video compilation with you because it's important that you see that there are people, again, I say no one's talking about it. I mean our mainstream, or who you think is important, because I know most of them are going to start talking about it when they have to talk about it, right? And that have to talk about it is when they get pressure on them, almost like my dear Tucker Carlson article. But, no one will attribute that. They'll just pretend it's a coincidence. And again, how many times is it a coincidence before it's mathematically impossible? And that's key. So, for those of you that have watched all my organ harvesting videos, and they're on Locals, it's pretty traumatic. But I'd like for you not to, assume what is happening based on what I've told you. Trust your gut. Your gut is impeccable. It'll tell you everything you need to know. Let's go.
May or may not have heard about what's going on in San Francisco with the homeless population, but it's wild. It's got my brain going down so many different avenues right now. I guess a few days ago, China's General Secretary Tsai, he visited San Francisco to meet Governor Gavin Newsom. And everybody knows how bad the homeless population situation has gotten in San Francisco. Even Elon Musk was recently talking about it in an interview with Joe Rogan.
think San Francisco is a beautiful city, and we should really fight hard to kind of right the ship of San Francisco. If you walked around downtown San Francisco, right near the ex-FKA Twitter headquarters, it's a zombie apocalypse. It's crazy. You can't believe it until you go there.
Well, evidently, overnight, people, they're just all gone. And I just saw a video of someone else's talking about it right here.
Did you see one video of them cleaning up the streets? Did you see one video of them hauling those homeless people off? No, you sure didn't. And isn't that amazing that not one person got a cell phone video of them in San Francisco rounding up the homeless?
And in his comment section, people from all over are talking about how they've got family that have gone missing there. They can't get a hold of their family. Local people know people that were down there that they can't get a hold of since that night, since the day that all took place. Evidently, people were driving around and they were getting asked to get in white vans, and these people are never seen from again. They're telling the local homeless there that they're taking them to the train station. There's some crazy stuff going on over there, but they cleaned it all up in one night. We've all been distracted by all this other stuff going on all over the world, and right in our own backyard here, this is going on. There's some wild stuff going on, and be careful how deep you dig on this, y'all, because you may not like the answers that you find.
A day at work is a day on the streets of New York for this team from the Center for Urban Community Services.
I'm a nurse practitioner. Just like a doctor, you would go for your dailies.
Funded by a city grant, they're on the hunt for homeless people in need of medical attention. They find 3 camped out on a street median and provide a basic checkup on the spot.
I'm going to listen around the front.
2 of them have heart conditions and appreciate the chance to ask questions.
I'm following it up and make sure that I see a doctor.
About 3,000 people live on New York streets completely outside of the shelter system, and often they have unmet medical needs. The isolation and trauma of homelessness tends to exacerbate illnesses and allow treatable conditions like diabetes to become life-threatening.
Diabetes is what 67-year-old Juan suffers from.
I'm sleeping here, I'm sleeping on the block, I'm sleeping on the block.
How long have you lived like this?
For long.
He had a provider, but people who sleep on the street face a lot of unique challenges. And in his case, his cart isn't easily brought into the office with him, but if he leaves it outside, he risks losing all of his things, including medication he may have been prescribed.
Many also have mental health issues, and outreach workers say the medical teams help build trust.
If they're feeling better and they're able to walk and ambulate better, then the next thing is, okay, well now we can get you into the Social Security office and get your benefits in place. And hopefully just taking these steps to ultimately get people housed.
Getting the homeless off the streets is the ultimate goal, as well as preventing expensive hospital stays to reduce both the financial and the human costs incurred by the city. Kristen Salumi, Al Jazeera, New York.
There are almost 70,000 people experiencing homelessness across LA County. The last research study showed that only 5 to 10% of them were receiving medical care from the existing street medicine programs. So we knew that there was a huge need for a program like ours to fill in the gaps and help provide high quality and equitable care across Los Angeles.
UCLA Health's Homeless Healthcare Collaborative launched its clinical services in January of 2022. In its first year, the Homeless Healthcare Collaborative has developed relationships across Los Angeles County with over 25 community partners and helped over 5,000 individuals from 9 months old to 91 years old.
What UCLA Health is trying to do is to take all of the things that it means to be UCLA Health and a top-ranked health system in the country and deliver that same equitable care to our unhoused neighbors.
Operating 7 days a week, our team of doctors, nurses, social workers, and psychiatrists provide a range of urgent and primary care services, including wound care, chronic disease management, infectious disease screenings and treatment, harm reduction services, substance use treatment, psychiatric primary care, referrals to specialty care, and coordination of care services. Additionally, we have cultivated partnerships within our communities and work side by side with local organizations who provide housing services, outreach, and engagement.
I'm going to pause this for a second. I want people to listen carefully to what I'm going to say now, okay? Because it's important. The people that are conducting this care, not all of them are seeing it as nefarious. These are very good people thinking they're doing very good things. It's almost, I sympathize with them. I believe that I'm a good person. I mean, all of us do. And we're innately like that. But I was doing things that I believed were good. Turned out they were not. And understanding that, it makes you struggle as a person. So please, don't take those people that are going there and giving them, shots and medications and taking them, right, away that they think that they're sending them to get incinerated. Speaking of incineration, I've talked about the boats that in Europe they've been putting the migrants on. And I did highlight an island in the northern region of Europe. Look back on my shows because this is going to really, really hurt. An island that only has one thing, an incinerator. And if you actually follow boats online, you'll see that most of these boats leaving the United Kingdom and other European nations with all these migrants are going to that island. To that island. And as I said, there's a lot of Epstein Islands. Remember when I highlighted Barack Hussein Obama going to Sir Branson's Island for a weekend with all those kids, right? There's another Epstein Island, but shh, don't talk. Or the one by Norway, shh, don't talk. These are all things that everyone should be paying attention to. Not a lot of people do. So again, do not hate those that are trying to help, because not all of them are read in on the actual deeds that are being conducted. Let's continue.
Employment and workforce development, meal services, dental care, and vision services. We operate out of our mobile units across Los Angeles to provide care directly in the community in streets and encampments, shelters, tiny home villages, schools, soup kitchens, and more. Our vans provide our team with a full spectrum of equipment for lab tests, prescriptions, and vaccinations, and onboard Wi-Fi to allow seamless coordination of care between our mobile unit, hospitals, and clinics. The Homeless Healthcare Collaborative provides care to everyone, regardless of insurance or immigration status. In our first year of operation, we totaled over 9,000 encounters, dispensed 1,500 medications to patients, and performed 2,300 medical evaluations. Since our launch, we have seen a 32% reduction in visits to UCLA Health's emergency departments by unhoused, high-risk patients that received care from our program. In 2023, our team plans to expand our fleet and workforce, extending our reach to more areas of high need across LA County.
Now, I saw a comment and I had to stop. And this is a very important one. Sounds like a whole lot of propaganda. You, my friend, are correct. See, if people start asking questions, but there are videos like this that showcase people that actually care, you will stop looking. You'll say, it's a conspiracy, kind of like the song that I first played at the beginning of the show. Keep in mind, they will, I'm speaking from experience, okay? Because using your experience and your, understandings of life and what you've been through help shape your perspective and understanding, and also provide you the right to objectivity, something that a lot of people lack. Objectivity is key. But what I gosh, breaks my heart just thinking of this. But what you need to understand is that that's the point. That's the catfishing, right? In not in the sense of, you know, the girl on the other end is not a blonde, but she's a brunette, and she's not tall. She's actually short, and she's not thin, and she's actually fat. They put in place people that are doing good, right? And showcase how much good they're doing. So that way it can shut down conspiracies, because now out of the 1,000 people that are doing good, 10 are read into the actual actions. The upper echelons of these NGOs are the ones that know. And all these other people are like, no, I'm helping, because they believe that vaccines are going to help them, or they believe putting them in a mental institution will help them. But what if the mental institution is where you drop them off, but then they get picked up and go somewhere else? What if the boat that you're putting them on is not taking them, you think that it's taking them to, I don't know, another country, but instead it's taking them to the island in the north of Europe where they're incinerating bodies. See, after, obviously, they take their organs, which I highlighted again, that in 2015, all those Syrian and African refugees that washed up on the shores of Greece were void of organs. Now, these are crimes against humanity that people don't like to engage in. And we are a people. And that child, that woman, that man, no matter where they fled from, no matter who they think they are, they could be the worst mass murderer, they can be suicide bombers, or they could just be regular people, or a wife of a suicide bomber that had no freaking choice but to be a wife at the age of 15, because that was the norms, right? It doesn't matter what they've done. It's what you do, knowing what they're going through. And that is key. See, when we focus on who the person is, again, I say this, just because you don't like someone doesn't mean they don't have rights. Just because you don't like someone doesn't mean that they get to get maimed and killed and treated like they're a lesser citizen or a child of a lesser God. We should all have compassion to this. I say this again. It was almost like the gentleman from Alabama whose son was arrested on a misdemeanor and, went into jail, and, they gave him his son back because he died in the jail, void of organs. Tell me how that's okay. I've alerted to the fact that the UN is taking property. And I wrote that article about the UN declaring mobile sovereignty. I've also brought attention to how they're having children at the age of 14, when they get their identifications, to decide to be organ donors. And to get yourself off the organ donor list, damn, is that a process, right? And now there are all these states that have conducted laws that if you go unclaimed, they get to create fertilizer out of you. See, these are all things that are happening, aside from the fact that our nation's sovereignty is stolen. Let's look at our souls. We're pretending this doesn't happen. And how can we actively fix this, right? When Patrice and Rochelle went to find those homeless people in Chicago, right? That I was in Chicago. I sat down and broke bread with a guy in Chicago that told me what was happening. They saw it for themselves. I was not just blowing smoke, right? I was paying attention. I was asking the right questions. All of you can ask those questions, because the worst thing you can do is knowing something is wrong and doing nothing about it. That's worse than the person doing the wrong. And I'm not saying that you should go out there and be an activist and do whatever, but do your small part, baby steps, what you're capable of doing, which is, I don't know, send an email to your city and say, hey, what are the programs you have in place for these homeless people? What are the NGOs tied to that, right? And on Wednesday, we're going to talk about NGOs, because tomorrow I have a guest that I'm so excited for. Like, guys, I am super stoked, and I can't wait for you guys to have, the ability to listen to my guests firsthand. So let's continue.
Additionally, we aim to provide access to crucial specialty care, such as cardiology, dermatology, pediatrics, pulmonology, and podiatry for people experiencing homelessness that are otherwise unable to access these services. We rely on philanthropy and grants to continue serving the unhoused communities in Los Angeles. So we need your help.
In order for someone to truly thrive, in order for someone to truly experience a sense of wellness, we have to address their healthcare needs. We have developed models in order to make sure that this program is sustainable for the years to come so that we can continue to support anyone that needs our healthcare.
Your support will help the Homeless Healthcare Collaborative to expand our clinical services and capacity. Your generosity will provide better health outcomes and put individuals and families on the path to better health and a stable home. $25 provides equipment and supplies for someone with an acute or chronic condition, preventing the need for a hospitalization. $50 equips someone with a backpack filled with clean clothes, a sleeping mat, and a personal hygiene kit. $100 gives life-saving medications to over a dozen people. $500 provides a family with a checkup and gets them connected with housing, employment, nutrition, and dental services. $1,000 brings a psychiatrist in the community to treat 10 individuals struggling with mental health conditions.
Thank you to everyone who has donated to the Homeless Healthcare Collaborative. Your donation is going to go a long ways to supporting our important mission.
With your support, we will be able to ensure that this mission-driven program continues to last for months, years, and decades to come. We encourage you to stay very close with us and partner with us along this journey. Each and every single donation makes a big difference in this work. Thank you so much again.
For people experiencing homelessness, missing proof of identity can be a major barrier to receiving critical services, from housing to food assistance to health care. But now, researchers at the University of Texas Dell Medical School are developing an app to improve homeless access to health care. The app is still in the early stages, but they are working on using blockchain technology to create a way to have the identity of unhoused people verified once by one provider, then shared throughout the Health and Human Services Network in a safe and secure way. Researchers say time and again they see unhoused people having to get new ID because it's either stolen, damaged, or lost.
None of us on the service provider side are talking to each other or sharing information. And so again, the burden goes on the individual to have to prove that over and over. When you talk to any case manager, social worker who's working with the homeless, they will tell you they spend hours on this identity problem, helping people track down documents, sign up for an ID in order to access these services.
Dr. Mercer also said the next step would be kicking off a pilot program.
All right, now here on KOB4 at 6, a bit of a mystery, a concerning one at that. Multiple nonprofits in Albuquerque who help our homeless every day say people are disappearing off our streets. And they believe these mysteries are part of a nonprofit scam.
Until we do something, this is going to keep happening. And we're going to keep, Indigenous people are still going to keep going missing from the streets.
Spencer Shaw spoke to local folks looking into this now. And Spencer, what do we know about this scam at this point?
Well, Tessa, Street Safe New Mexico says vans pull up to homeless folks, usually ones who are Native American, promising rehab and housing in Arizona. But those who do make it back here to Albuquerque say it was all a lie.
We are losing a huge number of the Native population out here in the street. And we don't know where they are. We really don't.
Street Safe New Mexico Executive Director Christine Barber estimates more than 100 people have gone missing since January. She says these white vans convince homeless people they can get free rehab and housing if they come with them to Arizona.
Once they're in Arizona, the people were made to sign up for a specific type of Native health insurance and also to sign up for Arizona food stamps. And then kicked out and stranded in Arizona. And so the whole Medicaid scam is they would then use that person's name, the rehab, so-called rehab, would then use that person's name, pretend they were a patient, and bill for services that they never rendered.
What started as one van has increased exponentially in the last couple of weeks.
Everyone out here knows someone who is missing. So we started taking down reports from people and just noting what, the different cars, and it has gotten so much worse in these past few weeks.
Barber gave us a business card that she says was given to a homeless person from the folks in one of those vans. So we decided to give them a call. While they didn't answer, they did ask to text. I told them I was a reporter working on a story about their facility, and their responses raised some red flags. The name they gave did not match the business card. They said they don't have a website, and when I asked for an address, they said I would have to set up an appointment. Afterwards, we called another number that was given to Barber.
Hi, this is Eric.
Hi, Eric. This is Spencer Schott with KOB4 here in Albuquerque. How are you doing today? I tried asking Eric about the rehab facility he works for. Do you work with homeless people?
No, I don't.
But a few moments later, he changed his story.
It's not like I took someone and that person is missing. I took like 3 people. I was just going there to Phoenix, and then, I have a friend there that have a business there. I saw what they are doing. It's great. It's helping people, it's a treatment facility to have people out of the street to get the treatment.
And so how did you get involved with that counseling facility?
So I think I gave you more than enough information that I want to give you.
Can you give me the name of the sober home? Well, after Eric hung up, I called local law enforcement to see if they are investigating these missing person cases. APD says it is out of their jurisdiction because these scammers are leaving the city and crossing state lines. But the Albuquerque FBI field office says they are working closely with the FBI office in Phoenix. That office has an open investigation into these insurance and rehab scams.
Wow, to con already vulnerable people, that's a new low. Spencer, I know you'll stay on it. Thanks for the update.
They said, the recovery part, and they can help me get a job.
People on the streets describing their experience of being approached by people claiming to give them a better life.
It didn't turn out that way. It just went from to me, it seemed like one lie to another.
Many of these people speaking are not being identified out of fear of being targeted again. Gallup Mayor Louis Buonaguidi saying last month he was shocked to learn something like this was happening.
It blew my mind in the sense, it raised the hair on the back of my neck because I didn't know something like that was going on.
I've spoken with people in areas like this where they say they've seen it happen. People approach them, offering them a chance at a better life. And those who say yes are sometimes never seen again. According to the FBI and local nonprofits, scammers are approaching victims, asking them to sign up for a health insurance program for indigenous people. The more people they sign up, the more they can bill state programs for money. Some say these crews are willing to do anything to get people to sign, including kidnapping victims and their children. One woman says the offer to allow her to bring her kids to a drug treatment facility did not make sense.
They'll be going to school and everything, and I'm like, well, I'm not gonna go take my kids around a bunch of people trying to get clean from drugs.
Some who know the streets well still know people missing.
I consider the people out here in the streets my family.
Although people on the streets are aware of this, they're wondering how long it will be until someone else is fooled on false promises.
I'm not going to put myself in a situation where I'm going to be stuck there.
Gallup police looked into 32 missing persons cases related to the suspected scam.
Eventually, Carlos showed me his home.
Got it coming on? Yeah. Good.
Down there?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. How do you get down there?
Got the step. A ladder there.
Oh, yeah.
I was astonished to find out Carlos's home was a sewer.
What?
He had an impressive setup, complete with computers, refrigerators, and a microwave. I was blown away by what I saw and eager to learn more about Carlos's living situation.
Where are you getting that electricity from?
Oh, from there, all the way in the back.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
He had run a line down the tunnel and tapped into a power source.
Nobody really knows you guys are down here, do they?
The police know we 2 years here.
How did you find out about the spot in the
Tense moments in Sacramento today as cops and homeless advocates clash over the clearing of an illegal encampment. Deputies issued trespassing warnings last weekend, and today they went in and cleared out the camp on a county-owned vacant lot. Thanks for joining us tonight. I'm Tony Lopez.
And I'm Sherman Roget. Getting kicked out means dozens of people are now being forced to find a new place to stay.
Where I'm going to go, I don't know, to the next nearest field, to the next spot, plaque of cement that I can sit on.
So where have the evicted homeless gone now? CBS 13's Jeffrey McGraw is live along Stockton Boulevard with that answer tonight. Jen?
Tony and Sharon, the camp has been cleared out and is now being guarded by deputies. But the people who actually lived inside have been literally forced here onto the street, like this woman who's now downsizing, trying to figure out what she can take with her to a new location. As the sun sets, another night of uncertainty for those who don't know where they'll be spending their next days.
Fear, anxiety, stress, anger.
Jackie Smith is one of 70 homeless forced to flee a field where she's camped for more than a month.
I only had a certain amount of time to get what I could and get out. I got what was important.
Sheriff's deputies raided the unauthorized camp on Stockton Boulevard early Wednesday, at times clashing with protesters and making 3 arrests.
These people have known that this was going to come, and our officers are out here telling them daily that there's going to come a point where they're going to have to leave.
We're just get the hell out. Go, go, go. Public property, private property, doesn't matter. Go.
Jackie carried what she could to this nearby parking lot, hoping to spend the night in a tent with her 2 dogs, but was told to leave by the business owner.
I feel bad for them, but there's nothing I can do.
Sherman Poon is fed up with the nuisance caused by campers.
I just can't have them just camping out here all the time. They're leaving trash out here.
So Jackie picked up and moved on once again. A similar scene for dozens more with nowhere else to go.
I'm not sure that direction, wherever that is.
All these people are now displaced again. I mean, we're already displaced. Now we're even more displaced. Like, where do we go?
I really don't know. I really don't have an answer for that. I don't know where I'm going.
And the gate is padlocked, and deputies say they will remain out here for the foreseeable future. Now, they also told me that every single person was given a written notice that if they return back to this facility in this vacant lot, that they will be cited and taken to jail.
After months of delays and legal battles, Eviction Day is here. The city of Oakland is clearing out the sprawling Wood Street homeless encampment so the city can make way for a new affordable housing project at that site. KTVU's Brooks DeRoche joining us now live from our newsroom. And Brooks, as expected, city workers and police officers were met with resistance to today's sweep.
And to break it down, Alex, COVID, winter storms, and a lack of shelter space delayed this eviction from happening for months and months. Just hours ago, we saw a group of very vocal unhoused residents and advocates yelling at city officials because they're unhappy the city hasn't provided a permanent place for Wood Street residents to call home. It's day one for city crews clearing, cleaning, and closing Oakland's largest homeless encampment.
Everybody stay calm. It's gonna be okay.
Some Wood Street residents were already kicked off of state property months ago. Now the city plans to remove everything and everyone from this area over the next 2 weeks.
It intends to accomplish 2 very important goals. The first would be to transition the unhoused into available shelter and to convey the property over to developers for the development of 170 permanently affordable housing units.
That housing is still a long way off. City officials say there's enough shelter space for the 70-plus people still here on Wood Street, but many are refusing to leave.
They can't get rid of us. We're dug in like ticks. We're part of the spine of the tree of Oakland, and we're very deeply invested in our neighborhood.
Phase 1 has already started. Scooping up trash, cleaning up the streets and sidewalks, and hauling off stolen and dumped cars and trucks. Evictions will be next.
I hope they just take time and patience and just don't bulldoze everybody out like that.
These large-scale encampment sweeps have been a point of contention and left the encampment in legal limbo for years.
I don't like the stress it's bringing to my neighbors and friends and family here.
City officials say they're pushing transitional housing. 4 took up the offer today.
We will continue that outreach to ensure that we are engaged with everyone, providing them the opportunity to accept city shelter and shelter in other city programs.
But advocates argue the city shelters missed the mark as a solution.
Those are what they call glorified prisons. They're inadequate to meet the needs, the basic human needs, the basic human rights of a person.
Creating a cat and mouse game, with some unhoused planning to relocate to another encampment as Oakland tries to get a handle on a housing crisis. Now, the city opened a new 100-bed community cabin site a couple months ago. It was funded by an $8.3 million grant from the state. There's also a new safe RV site for up to 100 RVs on 66th Avenue. Advocates say it's not a permanent solution. For now, live in the newsroom, Brooks DeRose, KTVU, Fox 2 News.
And Brooks, I heard one of the demonstrators there in your piece saying that the city shelters in Oakland are not adequate. What are they lacking?
Well, one of the things they lack is water and electricity. Some people there say that's not a permanent place. That's just something like a tough shed. But the city has said before that these are supposed to be transitional housing programs, something to get them into more permanent housing. Of course, we'll have to wait and see what that sort of housing may look like in the future.
Yeah, a bridge to a permanent housing solution.
Right.
Brooks DeRose, live in the newsroom. Thank you, Brooks.
And San Francisco has certainly been stepping up its efforts to put its best face forward, and that includes clearing out homeless encampments in areas around the conference. Our Leslie Gooden looked into where the unhoused are going and what is being done to get them help.
Apex is just 2 days away, and many people in the city are getting ready for it. But some advocacy groups say that the unhoused individuals who live in the security zone are being mistreated, and they say the city is not doing enough. I spoke with one unhoused individual who says he was pushed out of that security zone.
Yeah, but this is the third time they came and kicked us out, and then they wouldn't let us put our tents back up this time.
Michael Hudson has been living near Market Street and 12th for the past few months and says he just found out about the APEC conference.
What do you think about the president coming?
It don't affect me either way, man. He ain't doing nothing for me.
He says he was forced to leave where he's been living, and in the process lost many of his belongings.
Threw it on all the trash gets thrown in the back of a big box truck, and then they take it and haul it off somewhere. They're supposed to keep it for us, is what it says on the paper they gave us, but when I asked about it, nobody could find any of my stuff.
Michael tells me he wished the city did more to help.
So all they're doing is harassing us more because he's coming, you know? They're coming out here, they're arresting people.
And the Coalition on Homelessness says more assistance should be available for unhoused neighbors.
They're forcing us now that he's coming, and they're arresting people. Now, there's a lot more to this video that I can show tomorrow as well. I want you to understand that this homelessness thing hasn't just come up now, right? It's been around. If you guys go back to 2020, where I was telling you my homeless people in front of my building, which is riddled with homeless people, went missing because they were offered shelter if they successfully conduct a medical study. This is before the vaccines were created. I want you to think of that. What I'm telling you, please pick up what I'm putting down. It is extremely horrific. And many will say, well, nobody cared about the homeless people. I did. I would always sit there and have conversations. You know, after all of us, how many of you have parties at your home and have leftover food? Do you know where I took it? To the homeless shelter. Mind you, what if I told you that one homeless shelter actually turned me away from giving them food? Think about it. We all focus on things like, I see the chat. Tell us about the sun. Tell us about, what are we going to do? Let's pretend I tell you that the sun's exploding. What the fuck are you going to do? Huh? How are you going to change that? Life is a crazy ride. It's easy to get caught up in the chaos of it all. being pulled in a million directions. But there's a lesson I've learned along the way that I've been putting out and no one's been picking up very well. Some have. It's understanding what's in your control and what's not, and leaving the rest to God. We often find ourselves fretting and stressing about things like, oh, the sun, oh, earthquakes, oh, I don't know, nuclear war, which I told you will be raining in from the sky with the START agreement, but even showcased to you how they've done it before. But we're stressing over things we can't change. You don't have the nuke codes. You can't stop the sun from exploding if it wants to. You can't stop an asteroid from coming. You can't stop an earthquake from coming. You can't stop a tornado, a hurricane, okay? You can't stop any of that, right? You can't, stop the fact that you're being insulted with technology on your bio level and your intellect, okay? You can't. You just can't. You can't change, and you can't change things you can't control, okay? And circumstances that you can't physically manipulate. We are burning our precious energy on the things we cannot control. And it leaves every single one of you drained, frustrated, and powerless. Oh, I want to save the children. Then why the fuck aren't you looking into these NGOs that are hustling in, humans through our northern and southern borders or on ships and sending any information you have to state authorities that line the border? Fuck Biden's government. Why don't you take that and send it to President Trump? Hey, I want to contact you. Hey, I found this. Why aren't you doing things you can do? Because you're busy listening to those that are telling you how horrific everything is or how you can't trust anyone. But here's the truth. There's a limit to what you can do in this grand scheme of life. There's a limit to the battles that you can fight, the outcomes that you can influence, and the paths that you can carve. And that's perfectly okay. It's in those moments of acceptance that you find that peace and that freedom to maximize what you can do. Now, I'm not saying you should give up on, your goals and your dreams or whatever it is. It's the opposite. But you should give all of it, your all, to the things you can change, the things that are within your grasp. Pour your heart and soul all over those endeavors and watch how not only your life, but those around you transform. When it comes to things that are beyond your control, those uncertainties that keep you up at night, that's when you have to have faith. Well, you need it. Because having faith in something greater than yourself, like God, universe, destiny, whatever resonates with you, well, do it. Trust that there's a divine plan in yourself through your faith. That's if you're faithful, because I trust God, and I don't trust anybody, but I trust God with everything because He is the architect of this realm. So for those of you, I'm in 5D. We're all ascending. We're all going to disappear. This is the rapture. The sun's going to explode. We're going to have darkness. This is going to happen. That's going to happen. It's not helping the outcome. Oh, I can't trust General Flynn. Oh, I don't trust Trump. I think DeSantis is more better. Or, we just have to do this. Or we just have, how are you going to do anything? By surrendering the unchangeable to this higher power, you release the burden of worry and stress. And I strive for that all the time. I get, I'm telling you, this is it. This is how Atlas was able to hold the earth. You free yourself to focus on what truly can change. Okay? So try it. Take a vow to yourself to discern what you can and cannot change. And the rest you leave to a higher power. Put your energy into positive action, into being the best versions of yourself. I mean, evil people look evil. They grow old real fast. They have warts on their nose. They pretend they know things. And they gleefully cheer when they disrupt organic and beautiful things that people are doing to make change on the few things that they know that they can tangibly control. The only way you make the world a better place is one step at a time. You're not going to find your influencers and your podcasters and your Twitter trolls and the ones that, feed out hate and show mistakes and evil doings at the top fixing shit. They're only there to benefit themselves, not you. If they were to benefit you, they would be empowering you and telling you exactly what I'm saying, which is going to start soon. And then they're going to all say it was their idea, because this is the way evil works. But little do they know is that when you don't attribute things to God or other people that you take, you destroy yourself. It is the way it is. You cannot stand on shoulders of real giants and pretend to be one. You will fall like the clumsy cheerleaders at the top of the pyramid for everyone to watch. So here's this. Just like that first TikToker said, you may not want to dive deep into this because it is really ugly. And, some people aren't even ready for it. You have to find people where they're at. But this is quite painful when you see what is happening. When you see that these migrants are being bused to hotels, paid, given money and clothes, airline tickets, bus tickets, foster families, how the fuck do they find them? Remember a long, long time ago when I talked about the Butterfly Foundation down at the southern border? Well, we're going to revisit that soon. These are the things we can control. These are the things that we can do that are in our power, which is to use the information we have available at our fingertips to draw the attention and do our part. This is all it. So many people say, oh, I'm fixing. No, you're not. You're causing more division. Let's pretend that everyone tells you is evil. Let's pretend General Flynn is evil. Let's pretend Kash Patel is evil. Let's pretend President Trump is evil. Let's pretend Melania Trump is evil. Let's pretend all of these people and Rudy Giuliani and all of them are evil. And let's pretend you spend your energy in that lower resonating frequency talking shit about all these people. How does that help you? How does that help your family? How does that help your community, your state, and your nation? It doesn't. In fact, it just amplifies the gut-wrenching evil that exists. While many have a niche and focus on things like child trafficking, as I said, for Liz Crokin, it's personal. She was in that realm and saw it and freaked out. I get it. It seems like many people are more in it to cause, instigation. They don't see the operation. I urge you all to read old articles. They're probably still on Big League Politics, and I've mirrored most of them on my site where I talk about big tech, where I draw your attention to the 2009 deployment of social media interaction in regards to Bradley Manning's trial, who is now Chelsea Manning. Once you realize that this is all a show and it's all manufactured with people that you have given the power to be considered influencers, well, then it all makes sense. The only light at your feet should be your gut. And for those of you listening that have access to things kind of like I don't know, quantum technology and predictive analytics, I could tell you one thing. Every single one of you are observing it from your perspective. And unfortunately, not many people in this realm have the ability to be objective and to see that they are wrong or see where there is wrong because their benefit comes first. None of them. And I say that, and I could be wrong, but I don't feel it's wrong. I'm telling you, their outcomes are totally not the right ones. Now, while many wonder, is this a good person? Is this the who cares? Are they in your home? Are you having sex with them? Are they feeding you? Are they clothing you? Are they feeding your soul with information that is assisting you? Then why are you giving me their energy? Right? That's the way it is. Everything is a distraction to keep you off track, to focusing on things you can do. That is all. That is literally all. Focus on the things you can change. You can change something by sending information on an NGO, by sending a little blurb. Hey, I interviewed this homeless person on my street and they told me this. I think there's something nefarious about this. Drop the tip. You've done what you can. You put it on your Twitter, you put it on your Truth Social, you put it on your Telegram, you're telling your friends. That's it. You've done it. That is all. There are other people that are in bigger fistfights. I consider myself one of the people with the big gloves, right? And this is why they don't like me. Because the one thing that I will not succumb to is playing footsie with anyone. Because when you have ulterior motives of self-gain, that takes away from what my goals are, which is no self-gain, but liberation for all those hearts and minds that have been captivated over centuries. That's what's important. Now, on Telegram, shoot, guys, I can't even explain to you my situation for security reasons. And I can't, and I wish I could. But I would like for us to send Christmas cards to 2 J6 defendants. I will put that on Telegram once I'm able to. So if you're not on Telegram, please feel free to subscribe. I will post it on my X and Truth. It's really important that we show people that we see them. You know, obviously, a Christmas card and a good word or throwing $20 in someone's commissary account isn't really changing their situation. But it's making them know that you're thinking of them. And that's important. Now, for anyone telling you, oh, this is a big op and, you know, we're part of it and, you know, we're helping, fuck you. It's about time that we stop these operations. It's about time we stop playing games because this isn't a game. It's about time that the things that have been provided to the public in regards to information are utilized correctly. And it's about time we take a little step back. I have more to these reports, and I'm thinking, do you guys want me to run this? I'm going to ask my archivist if I can see them either on YouTube or Rumble if they're on. I'm going to look for their chat because I could see it with this software, and it's not OBS, by the way. I can play the rest of it for you so you can see it. I just want to know if they're good with that. And until I see that message, I wanted to tell you this. You do remember my article on Tucker Carlson, right? I highlighted one key thing, a friendship that he had with Hunter. Now, as you know, when you want something to manifest and come out, you try to show them how good something is if they liberate themselves with the truth. And his friend was the same person that I targeted with, prostitutes that I found. Everything that Hunter's going through is humiliation that evil does when you come to the table. I myself went through that. The devil humiliated me, gave me opportunities to escape humiliation. And why should I be humiliated for things that I didn't do? It's because I'm being punished for things that I did knowingly, willingly in the past. And so I want people to understand why I say it's not okay to keep bashing Hunter Biden. Because in fact, his laptop gave us the ability to liberate ourselves. And if we focus on the things that are in that laptop that affect you and I, it doesn't affect you if he's a drug addict. It doesn't affect you if he's with crack whores. It doesn't affect you if he, went around and, had orgies or put like an astounding amount of M&Ms, because that guy is well hung. Let's be straight. For my girls out there, that guy is well hung. It doesn't affect you. Okay? It doesn't. So why are we constantly humiliating him for being a knowingly, and he was a knowing and willing asset of his own father? That's also abuse. So Hunter Biden being trashed, okay, for being used by his father and then gassing his head up with it, right, that he's important, is his moment of being torched to the ground to then be elevated to the whistleblower he really is. If anything, I would ask from my listeners not to contribute in the humiliation of that man, but focus on the crimes that were committed that are within that laptop. I've said this before. My heart goes out to him because I feel bad for him. You're going to say, he did evil things. He totally did. But you have to remember, people that are in abusive relationships do horrible things. I was in an abusive relationship with my employer, right? The GOV. So, if anything, I would like for you to all at least focus on the gratefulness that we have that he left his laptop and omitted and refused to pick it up at that specific Mac repair shop. We should be grateful that he did that. We poke fun. I have too, and I'm ashamed, but we grow, right? And this is it, because there's a lot in there that's personal, like his conversations with family. I mean, if you see how toxic it was, he was literally banging his dead brother's wife, and she was trying to have a relationship with him. And then the kids were in bed with him, and that was normal, because remember, if you read Ashley Biden's diary, that was normal. Compassion doesn't just go, oh, that poor homeless person. Compassion goes to everyone, even those that aren't homeless. Oh, Hunter bought his house for $1. Yeah, those are called trusts. There's a lot more homes out there than you know. And the majority of the people talking shit about it are the ones that also bought their homes for $1. So no one is not a sinner. Anyone claiming they are not, it is wrong. Now, what degree it is, you are not one to judge. I have mentioned the story of the prodigal son many, many, many times, because those were the times that hit me, right? That completely hit me. Let's not forget Julian Assange. We should be sending him Christmas cards to let him know that we are celebrating Christmas thanks to him. Because God knows where we would be if he hadn't spoken over decades of what's happening. In fact, if I had Hunter's address, which I do and I would not publish, I'd be sending him a Christmas card. And I pray for him because I can just imagine what he's going through. He's He, he was a well-off person who had a very powerful father who was backed by more powerful people. And while many of you joke and laugh at it, it's not okay. I'm grateful that he dropped off the laptop. I'm grateful that John McIsaac attempted to turn it into the FBI, because it's almost as if Hunter knew this guy had connections with the military. I mean, he's not stupid. He had access to DoD databases, right? What that laptop shows us is that even a crackhead can have access to very important information. And it doesn't matter if you're a crackhead, as long as your dad's the right person, you'll get into the Oval Office and have conversations. These are very, important things that we should be looking at as a people, that we are maiming someone and adding to the humiliation. And that's what evil does. Okay, you had your fun at first. The boa's funny with the G-string jockstrap. The planking with M&Ms on your member is funny and astounding at the same time, right? But it's not okay to perpetuate that. It really isn't, because it's shame, guilt, and emotional abuse. I mean, remember, my daughter was targeted that by Alex Jones and Poopy Bennett, Caitlin Bennett, who I call Poopy Bennett, right? Which is extending that humiliation. That's wrong of me, right? That's very wrong of me. I can't find any peace to that, because I had to change my child's school. That put me in another predicament. But see, that predicament it put me in, and having to rent that car and having my car stolen got me a Tesla that I wasn't expecting. So all bad things that happen in turn turned to good. But my child was being harassed for things that she didn't ask for to happen in her life. It happens all the time. I'm being harassed for things I didn't ask for in my life. To embarrass me for things that I did, I can't complain about that. I did destroy nations. I had a part of that. And I asked for forgiveness, and I blew the whistle, and that's it. That's all I can do. I can't undo it. And so all of you should have the same, compassion. I was having a conversation. Someone was having a conversation with someone else in front of me that works for the Department of Transport in the state, and just talked about the homeless people and the addicts as if they were animals. And see, people get desensitized, almost like correctional officers. They see so many that they just treat them like animals. This homeless thing is a big deal, because if it's happening to our own people, yet we're paying pensions in another country and funding another, leader of another nation to buy a multi-million-dollar home within our borders, by the way, and a couple of yachts, that's a big deal. Our nation has so much money, and it can print it on demand too, that it can actually create facilities to assist people that have addiction issues. There are ways to rectify this. It's just they won't make money at it. So why do it? None of us would have complained if we gave $1 trillion, right, to help the homeless, U.S. citizens and veterans. Not one of us would say a word in respects to that. Not one. We would actually encourage it, because we know that by rectifying their addiction issues, their, issues that they have with their homelessness and what surrounds it, right, would benefit society as a whole. But no, instead, we're giving it to other people. That's key. They're being dehumanized. So therefore, if they're liquefied for fertilizer, or treated as experimental lab rats, or harvested for organs, I dare you to ask some of your homeless if they know of any homeless person or themselves that possibly sold the kidney to be in a hotel for a month, that possibly sold their womb to be homed for a month. See, that's key. Our government isn't run by elected officials. It's run by gangbangers, cartels, mafia that have selected individuals that cover for them. And I think the Mandan massacre and my reporting on it, which you should revisit, if you take the core concept of what I was putting out, applies across the board for everything. And this is to President Trump. I know it had to be this way because, like Eisenhower, when you walk through those murdered and the ops that were executed in the name of Nazism, people had to see it. Only if you see it can you yourself write history. Hearing it secondhand is not good enough. It doesn't convince you. I understand why you did this. I understand why you allowed it to happen. But I think perpetuating compassion now is almost imperative because this has gotten really out of control. And people are losing sight, and it's worse than 2018, where we had all the digital red string and the follow me trains and the bullshit. We need to make compassion trendy. We need to make being free trendy. That's all I have to say. So I'm going to continue this video, and we'll refrain from comment until it's done.
Living in the security zone for Apex.
We've been pushing to have them open up more resources. And what we've seen is that they've, the main shelter that people can just walk up and get at Dolores Street, they're not letting people sleep there, and they're going to only have it for folks that are referred out of the Apex zone to sleep there.
Jennifer says they got word about the Dolores shelter plan on Wednesday.
We'd like to see the city add some beds, maybe give some hotel rooms or do a shelter in a church, but add capacity to offset some of the displacement that folks are facing.
We did reach out to the city for comment about these concerns, and we're told in an email that the Department of Homelessness and Supportive Housing is not opening any special shelter capacity for Apex. And they stated that the Department of Homelessness and Supportive Housing does already have some recently funded locations available, such as the Interfaith Winter Shelter, and they will have 300 additional beds that should be available between November and December at 3 additional adult shelters. And for Michael, he's not sure where he will sleep the rest of the week.
They're packing us in like rats over here. And then, but I'm just using that as a place to keep my stuff. So now I come out here and I still stay out here because I don't want to live there. I'm not going to live in a little dorm where everybody's sick, coughing on everybody and stuff.
Leslie mentioned an overnight winter shelter that was already in the works. It's set to open tomorrow at Natoma and 8th Streets with 30 spots available.
San Francisco has one of the nation's highest per capita concentrations of homelessness. High housing costs, drug abuse, and COVID are some of the factors contributing to this crisis. Every 2 years, the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development requires communities count the number of people experiencing homelessness. In February of 2022, the city counted 7,754 homeless individuals.
Hi, I'm Luz Peña with ABC7. Nice to meet you. What's your name?
Johnny Crawford.
How long have you been out here?
I've been out here since 2018.
Johnny Crawford is one of over 4,000 homeless who live on the streets of San Francisco. Tell me about being out here. What is it like?
It's interesting. If you're not cut out for it, you're not going to make it. If you're cut out for it, you can survive.
San Francisco has over 1,000 occupied vehicles every night. Many are families with kids. Over 100 of these RVs are parked along Lake Merced Boulevard, all homeless.
I'm sleep here with my dogs, my 2 kids.
Nellie has been renting this RV for the last year. Before living here, they rented a room in the Mission District, but her work hours were cut during the pandemic, and they had to move out.
After the coronavirus, is the working is down. My check is like $200, $300 so I can to pay the rent.
Where do you work?
Housekeeping, a motel.
San Francisco has about 10,000 units of housing for individuals experiencing homelessness, but just 2,300 units of housing for families. But as demand grows, wait lists for housing and emergency shelter get longer.
Our shelter system is about 91% full.
Can you get shelter on the same day that you need it?
Yes, often you can.
Often, not always.
Not always.
What about families?
Most of the time, families can get an emergency placement the day they need one, and it can take a few weeks to get a single room.
Weeks?
And that's why we have the emergency.
Why so long?
Because our long-term family shelters are pretty well occupied.
As of November 29th, 2023, there were close to 500 pending shelter waitlist applications. The city prioritizes who gets into a shelter.
So if someone has a long-term chronic illness, they're going to have a higher prioritization than someone who is able-bodied and healthy.
In the last year, San Francisco faced another setback in clearing homeless encampments, an injunction that was brought forth after the Coalition on Homelessness filed a lawsuit against the city. They alleged encampment sweeps violated the rights of the unhoused. This has blocked the city from enforcing certain laws, like sleeping on public property. The debate has polarized the city, even leading Mayor London Breed to rally outside the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals.
The fact that the courts have crippled our ability to do our jobs, to help get people into shelter, is criminal.
The coalition has requested the city offer shelter before removing individuals from the streets.
We're trying to get them to stop illegally confiscating property and criminalizing them when they have no choice but to be on the streets.
Recently, the court provided clarification, allowing for the city to continue cleanup efforts. We went out with the members of the San Francisco Department of Emergency Management and the homeless outreach team to see the process.
At least someone gave us a warning, instead of...
During the 3-hour effort, we saw at least 10 people out of more than 50 tents get shelter or housing. But Jose Torres was candid. He said there's not enough space for everyone in need.
How do you do this job when there is not enough shelter, as you say?
It's difficult. It's difficult to talk to people and not have enough to offer.
In San Francisco, Luz Peña, ABC 7 News.
Here's for you guys. Masks. How big is your team?
Between 10, 15, up to 20 people. Right here, Mexicali, US, Mexicali, and the people.
And they include doctors? This is part of your team?
Well, there's one doctor right here. Is the one who take the blood out and take him to the laboratory so they give you the results that he's a compatible person.
Why do you go after the poor people to get their
It's
kidney?
not the poor people, because there's plenty of people from the South that came looking for the American dream and this stuff in here. They don't have jobs, they don't have nothing right here. So talk to them and offer a easy solution. Because a lot of people know that you can live with only with a kidney. He's gonna get out something on his body, but he will get well. I'm not a demon, I'm just doing my job and helping people. Get some money for do that.
The organ trafficker tells me that he pays off corrupt medical staff to get lists of kidney patients in U.S. hospitals. If they're interested in his service, they have to send him a blood sample. So your U.S. clients, going back to the U.S., because that's what I'm really curious about. So you have Arizona, California,
Florida,
Nevada,
and closer the Oklahoma.
Oklahoma. Once the doctor and his gang has tested the sample, he scours the streets of Mexicali for homeless migrants whose blood is compatible with the American client. He lets us follow him as he preys on the most vulnerable.
As soon as I started asking him how license trading union here in Mexicali, they started flowing up. Told me the problem that he had. So that's when we started to listen. I tell him that I got his money. Mira, tengo probablemente pueda ser tu solución a tu problema de dinero. Porque sabes que puedes tú vivir sin un riñón, tengo uno más, para dar 5,000.
¿Con un riñón?
Sí. ¿Cómo ves?
Está de pensarse, pero sí, se ocupa dinero.
Sería bueno que lo pensaras, porque todo es consentimiento tuyo y lo firmas y ya hacemos todo el papeleo bien. Y el dinero está aquí en efectivo. Pero solo tenemos que hacer unos exámenes para ver tu compatibilidad para ver si ocupamos el traslado. Y seguro que ustedes moneda y tomate $19.
Sí, porque en la familia también pues sí, aquí pues ahorita está muy dura la cosa y...
Eso sería bueno. ¿Cómo tú me hablas en qué tanto tiempo?
To my left, there's rows of homeless people just laying on the street. And this guy came from that same alleyway. People can live with one kidney, but it's a highly complicated surgery. Only the most desperate would place their life in the hands of a black market surgeon.
Organ trafficking, organ harvesting is a hideous crime. For the facilitators, this is just business. They see these people as money, you know. And because they're vulnerable, because there's nobody to defend them there, many of these people are also tricked into it. They will, even tell them, you're young, you know, your kidney will grow back, which obviously is a medical impossibility. I mean, there are so many risks involved with these illegal surgeries that are performed in places that sometimes aren't even hospitals, in places, you know, where there's no hygiene. A lot of these people may become sick. It can also be deadly. A kidney can be sold with $100,000, and then the money that the migrant, the poor people get are a tiny fraction of that. So most of the money is left with the facilitator and the surgeon. It takes a network to develop this type of organ trade. And it's almost always across borders. Because in order for a facilitator of this organ harvesting business to be successful, to make money, they need to operate between rich countries and poorer countries, or conflict areas and economies that are stable, because this is where the money is.
Having a hard time here.
Robert Menzies has lived on the streets on and off for years. It never gets any easier.
It's hard for people to see what's going on, because all they see is tents and dirty people, and they don't really see like the people that are hurting.
Hurt compounded now by even more worry. At least 6 homeless people have gone missing in recent days, an unusually high number, say advocates. Several of them have been reported to police.
My immediate worry is, are they still alive? And that's a horrible thing to think about.
The pandemic has disrupted outreach services, leaving the already vulnerable more likely to fall through the cracks.
Have they overdosed? Maybe something happened, who knows? These are folks that have gone through a lot of trauma in their lives.
Advocates say the city has not provided enough safe housing, and that decisions to dismantle encampments are making a bad situation worse.
They've done kind of as little as imaginably possible, frankly.
Greg Cook spends his days on the front lines.
I would describe it as a humanitarian crisis. People are just trying to figure out how to survive.
The city says it's moved 3,000 people into temporary housing and increased funding to shelters.
It's never enough, but I think we've done a really good job.
Still, there have been more than 500 cases of COVID-19 among the homeless, and now fears for the missing.
Sometimes people move on for a variety of reasons. We will remain very vigilant to try to identify where these people are.
We don't really have much of a voice, so what do we matter, right?
Menzies worries the missing men will be found dead, if they're found at all.
And it's like every week there's just 2, 3, 4 people that you know, and they're gone.
That loss adding to his hardship. Ellen Morrow, CBC News, Toronto.
We recruited folks from a variety of places across the city of Philadelphia in our own HIV clinic and gender clinic, as well as at Covenant House and in some other community-based organizations and aid services organizations that serve young trans women in Philadelphia. We also tried to recruit individuals through social media. And I just want to take a moment to talk about research methods when it comes to young trans women and recruitment. And was recently having a conversation with colleagues about this, that many times people would think that we could find young trans women for them to participate in research in similar ways that we might find young gay and bisexual men who are at risk for HIV through the dating apps, like things like Jack'd and Grindr. But it's really important to remember that these young women that we're talking about are a very different population in a lot of ways, and that we may not find them in the same ways. And so we did try to do some recruitment through social media, through places where we know that young trans women might be engaging in survival sex or sex work, such as Backpage or Craigslist.
Some breaking news, and an asylum seeker on board the Bibby Stockholm barge docked in Dorset has died. That's according to PA. Quick reaction to that from Sam Coates, our deputy political editor, who's with me now. And Sam, this is, of course, first and foremost a human tragedy. And we don't know any of the details further around how this happened. But it is also a political tragedy and story as well, given that we do not believe any of the migrants on board Bibby Stockholm wanted to be there, and it will raise questions as to whether they should have been in the first place.
On today of all days, to have this news of a tragedy aboard the Dorset-based Bibby Stockholm barge, I think we don't yet have any details about what happened, but for us just to be taking in that news, to be trying to report out what went on, for there to be a focus on that barge will have ramifications. But I think what happened and finding out what happened will be very important. This is not a focus that the government will have wanted to have to deal with today. But I think finding out what happened is absolutely key here.
Certainly is. And just to reiterate, we don't know any of the details further than what PA has reported. An asylum seeker on board the Bibby Stockholm barge, docked, of course, in Dorset, has died. We will bring you more on that when we have it.
Welcome to the north side of Pittsburgh. This part of the city is home to PNC Park, Acrisure Stadium, and also countless homeless people camped out primarily along the Three Rivers Heritage Trail. All of the areas shown in this video are within close proximity to some notable shelters and outreach groups in the city, such as Light of Life Rescue Mission and Central Outreach Wellness Center. With the notable spike in Allegheny County's homeless population year over year, these north side encampments located near shelter and resources are merely visual representations of the problem facing the city. Unable to house a sizable chunk of the homeless population as temperatures continue to plummet, both city and county governments have been scrambling to find answers. And despite emergency weather-based temporary shelters such as Code Blue, there are currently no plans in place to get all of our homeless off of the street with winter rapidly approaching. Some other initiatives, such as council's plans for city-sanctioned homeless encampments, are yet to move forward and only plan to house 25 to 50 people per site. These sites, called temporary managed communities, were first introduced by council members Deb Gross and Anthony Coghill. If developed, they would have heat, restrooms, staff, and other amenities available to the homeless. What do you think about the idea of city-sanctioned homeless encampments? Do you think it'll work? Let me know in the comments. This is Bobby Harr with Eyes on Pittsburgh. Thanks for watching this video.
People have been waiting for years, let's say, for example, for to get citizenship, and they don't get anything. They've been here 40, 50 years. They can't get no amnesty. But then these people come, they get everything. They're getting their rent paid, they're getting money, they're getting phones, they're getting etc. What about the homeless people? What about the veterans? The veterans, exactly.
Families like the Bradys in Wiltshire, both parents working full-time with 2 young children, forced out of their home of 15 years by a no-fault eviction, now living in their van. Or 11-year-old Liam Walker, homeless this Christmas. He wrote a letter to Santa saying, "Please, can I have a forever home? I don't want any new toys. I just want all my old toys out of storage. I just want us to be happy again." Is there anything that could shame this government into putting the country first? Then it's surely this little boy.
Mr. Speaker, if he really cared about building homes, if he really cared about building homes, when there was an opportunity in this House, Mr. Speaker, in this House, to back our plans to reform defective EU laws, to unlock 100,000 new homes, Mr. Speaker, what did he do? What did he do? He went in front of the cameras and said one thing and came in here and blocked it. Typical shameless opportunism.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. As the world's...
One more.
Mr. Speaker, is that really his Christmas message to Liam?
Something told me to stay out of the missions or the shelters. Something told me just don't do that.
Yep, exact same instincts here. I've been living in a vehicle now for 5 years. About 3 years ago, they did this over in San Jose. I noticed that this traffic went up to Sacramento, California, at least a good portion of it, and it turned into the largest homeless encampment at that time. Now, that's what I thought was going on with this over in San Francisco. However, about 4 days ago, I noticed that the population of homeless in Sacramento evaporated also. Their stuff remains, but every single one of them is just magically gone. Same thing with San Francisco. Now, here's the thing. We have to find those people. We absolutely have to find those people. Because, again, if you and I both are the only homeless people that I know of that are around, then that means that they were targeting churches, shelters, food banks. They were even using the EBT system, and I can prove it because about 2 weeks ago, California cut off my food stamps. I've been back and forth with them on the phone trying to get that done, and then since I got this news about San Francisco, I gave it up. Because it made me realize that that is how they're finding us. They're triangulating and making sure we vanish. Now, again, up here in Chicago, where I happen to be, the homeless population did the same damn thing. Where are they? Where is everybody? It is important that we find these people because this is what will make humanity extinct.
Are you not entertained? Is this not why you are here?
You may or may not have heard about what's going on in San Francisco with the homeless population.
I hope that gave you some insight on what's really happening. And this is only the surface. I drew attention to the Obama phones. As you see, this is how they activate their networks. And I mentioned to you how the one homeless person in Chicago told me that they coax them with medical cards and giving them dental treatment. And they're not going to nab you the first time. It's going to be one time you tell your friends, another time you tell your friends, and then you and your friends all disappear. These are hard truths for people to stomach. This has all been going on under our noses while we're sharing memes and trying to figure out who's the good guy, who's on our side. They're not going to save you, so I don't know what your problem is and why you're focusing on that. Nobody cares. What you should care about is where are these human beings going?
Greetings, Earthlings.
And I'm going to pull that piece because Roseanne Barr and Tucker use their platform to make it a little bit more mainstream. And I apologize for going over on my time. I'll keep it at a 3-hour mark for my archivist so they can make this into a 2-part podcast of 1.5 hours. It's just, this is such a big topic. You know, I'm one that always goes to shelters with my family, you know, and give when I can. I'm not holier than thou because I haven't put them all in my house. And, you know, that's the thing. Am I putting them in my house? But as we're speaking of the migrants that they claim are migrants, they're invaders and against their will, I want you to think, since we can't solve that directly right now, we can obviously dig into our communities, that are border states. You can ask super questions like, hey, who's this NGO working with the migrants? Hey, how are they coming in? Hey, you know, we've got a network of airline pilots that are helping. We have a network of foreign countries that are helping. We have a network of bikers that are helping. These are all the people that are helping, and yet nothing has manifested yet. Because just like someone said earlier, and I've said this before, President Trump is one man. If you think buying a book or a CCP box or gold and silver or sharing tweets and memes and, you know, listening to someone who's pacifying you or aggravating you, right, is helping the situation, it's not. If you want to feel productive, you do one simple thing. One thing. You don't have to do a million things. You can send an email to the person that allegedly represents you and say, what the fuck is going on with the homeless people? Or next time you're out on a walk or going to the shop, stop off at your local homeless shelter and say, hey, what programs are involved here? I'd like to get involved. What companies or what money are you getting? This is it. See, I've been talking about this for years in little doses because people were not ready. And for all those out there, say it. Yeah, if you know something, say it. And it's like, shut up, right? Maybe one-to-one, someone can drop a bomb on you, but you can't do that to the public because we'll have a repeat of the early 20s where people are jumping off the roof. You think you know what happened then? You forget. We still have archives. The Library of Congress is available for you. Read it. Read it. Because it'll give you all the insight you need. For now, what we should be focusing on is tangible actions that we can actually do. And that's it. We can empower people that have been working for us. We can help people that have been fighting for us. That's how we make change, right? By working on the things that we can change. So allow me to showcase this, these few minutes of this episode of Roseanne Barr with Tucker Carlson, because I believe it's very important that you see it, because not a lot of people talk about it, and I'm so glad they did. And for anyone telling you that's not going to help, it totally is. The minute you unmask one thing, the rest come tumbling down, and that's what matters. All you want to do is shed some light. You're not there to slay with your katana. You're there to shed light. Shed the light, and stop trying to pretend that, I don't know, that you're doing something when you're not. Here we go.
And my father paid him in cash, in actual bills, $100,000 in bills. And this guy didn't live there. He lived in Ireland, but he'd been a CIA operations officer for his whole life. Second World War, OSS, CIA. My whole neighborhood was full of people like this. And he owned this 3047 and a half N Street, Northwest, D.C. That's where I lived. And that was bought from Mr. Taddy, who was a CIA officer. And it's like, I said to my dad, you paid him in bills? Yeah, I went to the bank. I got bills. How did the guy, he goes, I don't know. It was some house the CIA owned, but he wound up with it. It's like, is that how the federal government works? I worked for a company. They had lots of assets. I didn't wind up owning those assets. What? Who's doing the accounting here? What is this?
You know what? It's such a scam. Here's the scam of it. That's why they get the left and the right going on it. Because I got to say this right. They socialize the risk and then privatize the profits.
Totally-
It's the greatest
totally
friggin'
right.
scam you could come up with. It's a
unbelievable.
Stalin-Hitler pact. More of that shit.
It is, and Washington, D.C. is the beneficiary.
Yeah.
Nothing is made in Washington. There's no innovation. There's no manufacturing. There's no banking even. Really, there's no finance sector. There's really nothing. There's no arts. There's no television other than like cable news, just schlock. The only business in Washington is government. Okay, that makes sense. It's the capital city. But it's also the richest city in the United States. And the counties around it are the richest counties. Like 8 out of 10, I think.
Yeah.
Or collar D.C., ring D.C.
It's all for them, like Trump
That's
said.
corruption. If that was taking place in Africa, you'd be like, well, that's corrupt.
Yeah.
It's like the cartel.
Well, remember when Trump won because he said we will be replacing this government that serves only to enrich itself, has nothing to do with you.
That's for
Everyone loved that
'Cause
because
so
it's true.
It is.
They don't even see the homeless people on the street, and they're still fighting over who's going to go. They don't even close the border in this country, but they're closing it in Ukraine.
They step
It's
over the
crazy.
bodies of
They
fentanyl
do.
addicts as
On
they
their
go
way
in.
into their mansion.
Send more money to
There's no bodies now. They cleaned it up for Xi to show
Yeah,
the
San
It's
Francisco
totally
they
clean
did.
now. Did you
I
see
don't think there's
Newsom?
anything that's offended me more. It's
It's
like
disgusting.
Me
what
either.
you're saying is
Yeah.
you could have solved this problem
Yeah.
for the people who live there.
Well, I want to know where he put them. I want to know
come
where he put those homeless people.
Yeah.
He might have sending up to Aunt Nancy's vineyard. Maybe they're up there.
Totally possible, or else there's going to be like it's possible that the price of kidneys is going to go way down.
See, that's what I think.
Supply and demand.
Damn it, that's what I thought. You
The
know,
market for kidneys is flooded. We got a lot of kidneys all of a sudden.
I think that is part. You know what I say? You know, I'm horrible. No,
I
I'm
love
way
it.
darker.
That's the right podcast.
Because I said, well, you know what they're doing is that they're grinding that up with the Planned Parenthood fetus meat and selling it to Bill Gates for his new meat. I
That
swear
may be
they
right.
are.
That may be right.
They're going to be selling it at McDonald's, the new fetus burgers.
I've
I
got bad
tell ya.
eating habits, but I'm not eating there.
I'm telling you, it's going to be fetus burgers wall to wall.
I
That's
wouldn't-
what it is.
I wouldn't put it-
mixed in with bugs.
Crickets. Cricket
Crickets.
powder for the WWF.
Oh, it's just
As long as they
how
don't put it
can
in
they?
Fig Newtons, I'll be safe.
I love Fig Newtons.
I do too.
We were going to talk about smoking. I want to go
Oh.
on there. How much do you love smoking?
More than
but you
anything.
don't now.
When's the last time you smoked?
I smoked a cigarette this summer.
Oh.
Might have because a guy I know owns a cigarette company called Hestia.
Mhm.
Very stylish little
Yeah.
cigarettes, and so he came. Whatever, he sent me a couple cases of cigarettes, and I put them in our studio because I think people should be allowed to smoke if they
Yeah.
want. You can always smoke indoors at my house, and
Buck, what did you think of Kim Kardashian?
Well, thanks, Tucker. If I ever get to come to your house, I definitely like to spark up a cigarette. Now, since I'm making this a 3-hour show and I have 15 minutes, I found this video. Well, I shouldn't say right? But this video was discovered. And I want you guys to see it. Grain of salt, of course. But I think it's imperative that you do. And the reason I say this is because I've talked about this before. I've made mention of it many times. And I know a lot of people are busy, with politics, just as I am. Next week is Christmas. I still haven't even gotten presents. I kid you not. I mean, everyone's just getting pajama in the socks anyway. That's what the budget calls for. And that's what's happening because I have other priorities. But next week, Christmas Day, I won't have a show. I will always have my 8 o'clock on Twitter, just telling you what you need to know, what the top headlines are. But having said that, I will be traveling the 29th. So I will hopefully do a show. I will know my schedule better this Sunday because, yes, I am involved in politics, but that doesn't mean that we turn a blind eye to crimes against humanity ever. So there is a site called Stranger Than Fiction News, and I found this, and I want to share it with you. God forgive us.
You're feeding the dead to the living. You know the end is near. Check out this death chamber, this washing machine. They call it aquamation, where they liquefy the dead. and then dump the remains down the drain to be recycled into the municipal water supply. And so people are drinking it, they're showering in it, they're doing their laundry in it, and this is happening in most states across the country. In most major cities, they're recycling dead people and feeding it to the living. What does that mean exactly? And they're grinding up the bones into powder. They call this calcium phosphate, which is going to be used for food processing, undoubtedly. Maybe in your vitamins. And so what are the implications when people start eating dead people, like cannibalism? Is there going to be kuru running around out there? Mad cow disease? What about in a spiritual sense? What is that like when you're eating and drinking dead people? Of course, they're spraying this on the food supply. Irrigation. They're using dead people as compost, and people are drinking it. So what does that mean? What does that feel like? Ladies and gentlemen, obviously this is another satanic ritual that's being performed before our very eyes. And essentially people are being raped by this death juice as they're forced to drink it. Talk about drinking the Kool-Aid. Now they're drinking dead people in the major cities. That's why they're all crazy in these big cities. They're drinking dead people, and they don't even know it, for the most part. And they keep finding human DNA in the food supply. What do you think that's all about? It's probably not just aquamation, but they're probably grinding babies and who knows what else in these meat processing plants so that people will eat human flesh without even knowing it. That's how these cult members get their kicks, ladies and gentlemen, quite literally. So aquamation has been around for about 10 years now, and it's spread to nearly every state and every major city because they're running out of space, they say, in the cemeteries. They just can't build a new one outside of town, so they're going to liquefy you. And it's like the movie The Matrix. How long before people end up in pods like this, connected to the Matrix? Probably sooner than you think, ladies and gentlemen. We're well on our way to transhumanism and assimilation. But this is some scary technology, because this can be deployed in all sorts of different ways, and people can disappear and just end up down the drain. Don't ask us what the video guy is doing on vacation. So there's all sorts of different models and all sorts of different types according to the reports. There's the hardcore hydrolysis, and then there's the soft hydrolysis. And the difference is the temperature and the time it takes to dissolve a body. It can take between 3 hours and 8 hours. So imagine you've got a laundromat like this somewhere. How many people can disappear in a day in a laundromat just like this with these types of washing machines? Undoubtedly, we'll be seeing facilities like these connected to the quarantine camps in the beginning. Of course, after a while, they just won't care anymore, and you'll start seeing the smokestacks coming from these quarantine facilities saying it's for your protection. But obviously, if we're to the point where we're liquefying the dead and feeding it to the living and calling it organic or environmental, you know these people on television have gone mental, that these people in the cities have gone mental, and it's just, without a doubt, talking to these people is useless. They don't want to hear the facts. They don't want to hear the truth. They're always going to spin it like liberals and call it for your protection. Call it your imagination. These crazies will call you crazy and say, this is perfectly fine. This is perfectly natural. This is science. Look at that. They got no problems putting the bones into a meat grinder, putting it into a bag and saying, oh, We got some calcium phosphate. It's no longer human remains anymore. These are just chemicals. And so they're going to end up in the food supply. They're going to end up as fertilizer. And people are drinking this right now. And again, what kind of effect does this have when you drink something like this? When you drink wine, I mean, you get drunk, right? What happens when you're drinking this type of juice? You hear about the cult members drinking the adrenochrome. What about the average sheeple that's being fed this death juice? What does that do to them? Obviously, it turns them into zombies. Obviously, these people are going to be vibrating at a different frequency, at a very low frequency. But you just
So remember, years ago, I brought this up when I had Patrick Byrne on my show, where I said, hey, how do you feel about the 26th state now passing along that using humans as fertilizer is now law? And he was like, what? And I'm like, yep. Do you guys remember that? That was years ago. Another notion is to why they hate me. You know, oh man, she said it first. Well, when I said it, you could have reported on it. See, the truth is stranger than fiction. And that's why Stranger Than Fiction News is something that I do peruse, because there are whistleblowers masking it as, you know, some sort of thing, because it's quite a deadly game. Unless you trust God 100%, they can't touch you. It's one thing holding the Bible and say, I believe in God, but then, you know, trying to make things happen when they can happen. I've had angels sent to me. You have no idea. They have come to my aid at the weirdest of times. And because they extend their compassion, knowing the wrongs that I have done, I extend compassion to people that wrong me every single day. If anything, please, ending this year, try to bring in more compassion, even to those insane. Because, you know, why would your government use your tax dollars to advertise how amazing your drinking water is? Why have I always pointed out, pay attention to what the Senate and Congress drink? Well, now they have unlabeled tin cans of water. Very important things. Why is technology being pushed to the side as if it's not affecting us? Do we not run on electricity? Yes, we do. Now, again, delving into these things of what exactly your body is capable of is great for self-knowledge. It's great to enrich your knowledge. But falling off a tangent, thinking that you're going to ascend spiritually, or you can't ascend spiritually and be a bitch at the same time, right? Let's be fair. I, for one, you know, like I said, Christmas is tough. I did tell you guys when Selma had those, and I'm just talking for my ladies. I don't know about men. Men are always happy with socks. They tend to lose them and they make the most holes. That's actually a study was done that men have more holes in their socks than women. But I did splurge, and it wasn't much of a splurge. It was like $20 something on Amazon. And I got myself a handheld shower thing that filters the water. I'll tell you why. So as I was traveling a couple weeks ago, I had the opportunity to stay at a Trump hotel, not at another hotel, because they were actually cheaper than other hotels, believe it or not. I have issues, you know, bodily function issues that happen all the time when I'm home. And, you know, I don't drink the tap water. I use fresh water or spring water, you know, to companies that label it spring water. If it says purified, it's recycled sewage water. I'm recycled sewage water. But I got like this handheld thing because I was seeing a lot of it on TikTok. This Jolie, I can't spend $150 on a freaking shower head. But I found this handheld one that was pretty incredible. And that handheld one was like 20-something dollars, and it filters your water. Why do I say this? I noticed that when I shower with filtered water, my body feels better. And and it was my boyfriend that pointed it out, because he remembered how I had told you guys, hey, if you're having trouble sleeping, bathe in magnesium salts, because that, your skin is your largest organ, right? So it absorbs everything. And let me see if I can find the link. Give me a second. Let me see if I can even post it on with this software. Hold on. Let me just get into my Amazon account. Let's no, Jesus. Why do I always have to like okay, here we go. Count orders, because I got it. And now that, Carlo is now training to be a plumber, I have a free plumber, which is fantastic because plumbers are damn expensive. Let's see, where is it? Here it is. Oh, well, it's still on sale for, oh my gosh, it's not fair. So I'm going to screenshot them. Well, maybe I can share this. Hold on. Okay, maybe I can share this. Let me share this because I bought this. Let me see if I can share my screen. Give me a second. Yes, I can. Hold on. Okay, let me see how it looks. Can I add it? Okay, here it is. So it's this that I got. So basically it has like foreign color filtration. I'm going to try to zoom in on it. Impurities of water, foreign colors, odors, heavy metals, iron, rust, lime scale, antibiotics, right? And whatnot. Now, for homeowners, and if anybody knows of any, take a look and see if there is any way that you can UV treat the water that comes through your pipes or something. I'm actually going to ask Carlo about that because that's something that I'm interested in. But this is the thing that I purchased, as you can see, so that I can try it out. Because changing a whole shower head, the shower heads are more, are more expensive. So I thought I'd try it out and see if it helps, with my bodily functions, right? Because I only find it here when I'm washing with water. So this is, largest organ in your body. I'm not getting paid for this, okay? So anyone talking shit, piss off. There's a 30% coupon, so that's pretty good. So that was quite fascinating to see and absorb, I guess. We'll see how it goes when I have Carlo come by the house tomorrow. Hopefully he could put it in. If there's UV systems to, filter the water, that would be great too. That way it can, break down any DNA molecules, and figure it out. But these are very important things that we should be paying attention to, considering that they've infiltrated every portion of things that assist us in just living. So on that note, I think I want to play the same song that I showcased, this young singer who I showcased, Karen Connolly. Her song's only gotten 32,000 views. I think it's pretty awesome that it's a conspiracy. It's pretty cool. So I'm going to end with that. I will see you guys if you're on X. Great. If you're not, it's been a recorded space and it'll be uploaded as a 30-minute hit so that you can see what is coming, because that's the key here. We have a lot of reactive news. We don't have any proactive news, and it's important for us to understand what is to come, right? That's what we should be focusing on, so that way we can mitigate the circumstances that we are in. So please try to promote more compassion. And, we know from, the psychology of most people that are homeless, it's almost like, the kids brought up in like really bad areas in the cities. They feel like the world owes them something. And I know a lot of people relate that to narcissism, or low self-esteem, which is evident because they are in a hindered life experience. But what we can do is set them realistic expectations, encourage gratitude, even if it's just one meal, even if it's just $1, encourage that, and promote them to have self-awareness. The homeless person that I spoke to was incredible. He believes in God, and he says, I am, homeless, I guess by choice, because everything is a choice. And that was incredible to hear from someone, who's homeless. So I'm going to let this video ride out down to the lady's cat. Her name is Karen Connolly. Let me see if it comes up on the screen. And on that note, God bless you. I hope all of you have completed your Christmas shopping or are getting there. And I will see you guys tomorrow with my special guest at 9 a.m. Eastern time. It is going to be so amazing that we're going to have like a roundtable coffee talk. God bless. See you tomorrow.
It's getting lonely way out here. Your space will do that to you, but let me be clear. I'm one heartbroken satellite. You see, it's been a while since I've seen you around. 40 years since you last touched my lunar ground. So a call at least would be nice. You moved on to better things. Said it was the money, but maybe it's me. You changed everything with one giant leap, and then you left me. Oh, maybe it's a conspiracy. And I don't know this Houston guy, but I bet he can't shine as bright as I. Oh, there's so much of me we yet to learn. And worst of all, you left your little prints on me. Stuck a pretty thorn in my side. Oh, is that all you need? You've been gone so long, but the memory still hurts. Oh, you moved on to better things. Said it was the money, but maybe it's me. You changed everything with one giant leap, and then you left me. Oh, maybe it's a conspiracy. Oh, what can I do until you return? Watch the asteroids burn. I just don't glow like I used to. And as I count the days, I'm drifting further and further and further and further and further and further away. Woo! conspiracy.
Excuse me. Excuse me, miss. I did not say you could do that. Say hi. This little brat. This is it. This is my life. Welcome.